Podcast.
This is the Gore Club Podcast with Steve Vessel, Derek Sturgeon, and Deathmetal Dave. Shit.
What are you doing wrong?
I put you in my t-shirts all the time, Dad. Or me. This was our newest one.
Yeah, I mean, all he does is just like he just takes advantage of it. He just puts girls like that he knows and shit in videos, and people click on it. And then all these dudes, we joke about it even when we're around him. We joke around it because these dudes like worship him. Like, oh my god, you must get so much pussy. Like he's not fucking any of these girls. Like he's not. They're just friends. He's just taking advantage of people. You know, like you're stupid. I'm putting these girls in it. But he's made he lives off this shit.
Wow.
When Vine crashed, he was depressed as fuck because he made when Flappy Bird. Remember that stupid fucking Flappy Bird game came out?
Yeah.
They paid him $10,000 to do a 6-second ad on Vine for them.
What?
$10,000 to mention Flappy Bird.
Oh, because of all his followers.
Because all his followers, he had it made. Like, and then Vine got shut down. He had the kind of.
Was he like, look at these big titty golf girls? You know what I want to see? Some Flappy Birds.
Yeah, it was something.
That's
like
all
that.
it takes.
Just like flying in between their titties.
Yeah.
Man.
Oh, I'm gonna.
Okay.
The countdown has
Whatever you
begun.
Are we starting?
Are we starting? I guess we're Gore Club Podcast, everybody. I'm
we are
Steve
starting?
Vessel.
Yeah, cool.
Deathmetal Dave.
I'm Derek. Are you drinking fucking Kool-Aid?
No.
Jim Jones?
We can't say what the word is, I guess, but it's power juice.
Are you drinking power? We could say the word. Or we say the name of movies and directors and
I
shit.
know.
We're going to get sued for fucking
You never
drinking
know.
Jim
Probably.
Jones juice?
Possibly. It's Jim Jones juice. That's exactly what it
Oh,
is.
so it's Flavor Aid.
Yeah. I'll see you guys on the other side.
That's the technical.
Well, that's an easy segue because today we're talking about cult movies.
Cult movies.
Oh, no, are we?
No, we're not.
No, fuck.
Actually, we're talking about amazing horror films of 1981.
From the year of 1981.
There were probably a lot of cults in 1981. Though.
Oh,
I feel
there's
feel
some good ones.
I feel like that's some cultish times, and serial killers are just kind of.
God.
They haven't quite reached their peak. They're kind of there, but
Yeah.
81's fun.
Speaking of serial killers, we're going to go through some like sweet little tidbits that happened in 1981. And since you brought up serial killers, we're going to talk about Adam Walsh. Adam Walsh's dad created Must Be Destroyed. The Gore album.
America's Most Wanted.
Right. Yeah. And the reason he did that is because his son disappeared.
From Sears.
Right. In 1981. And then they found his fucking head.
In a pond.
And like a little tributary,
Yeah.
off the side of it. And it was supposed to be connected to Otis Toole or whatever, how you want to pronounce it.
Well, he said he did it.
Yeah, he said he killed everybody, but
Yeah,
Marilyn Monroe.
Sometimes you just take credit, though. You got to take credit.
Yeah, you gotta really take credit for things.
Got to swing that dick around. You know?
Dave, do you have any other notes about 1981? I got a bunch, but I'll let you spew.
MTV was created in 1981, which has some sort of effect on movies now.
I was there. I remember my sister and I did the whole countdown, and it was like, what am I staying up for? I'm fucking like 7. Let's do this. I don't know what the fuck I'm watching, and it was MTV.
Yeah. So MTV, John Lennon was shot dead, which actually affected some of the movies that were released this year.
Oh, yeah. Who else was shot? Fucking Ronald Reagan was shot.
Yeah.
Inaugurated and then shot like 3 months later. That was pretty cool.
How you doing? First 100 days. Bam.
The CDC reported the first pneumonia among gay men, which ended up being AIDS.
Oh man.
Yeah, super flu, super pneumonia. It's like, oh yeah, that happened in 81.
And you had me. I was digging it when you said Reagan got shot, but now you brought us down.
Sorry, man. Fuck. Yeah, you brought up what's his name? I got some notes here. Mark David Chapman. Yeah, he got sentenced also for shooting John Lennon. I think he shot him at the end of 80, and then they sentenced him in 81. But whatever. Ric Flair beat Dusty Rhodes for the heavyweight championship of the world.
Those two went at it for years. But Ric Flair, that's probably like his third of like 16 fucking championships.
I said it was his first, right?
Was that his first? Well, maybe the first time beating Dusty. I mean, that dude's got so many championships they don't even count. They call him like the 16-time world champion, but he's had different belts 40 fucking times and different wives.
Well, I'll do a woo for Rick, baby.
Woo for Rick.
Metallica forms in L.A. in 1981.
Yep.
They caught the Yorkshire Ripper in England,
Oh.
and I don't know. That's about it for let's recap it right there and let's go into these fucking movies, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Because you
good
know
ones.
what? There's a lot of them.
There are, and there's more good ones than bad ones. I would say.
Okay, there's so many. We're doing this as a 2-parter, everybody. So if you're listening and watching us on YouTube, give us a like and subscribe, and then we're going to do this in 2 segments. So we're going to try to do these in order from January to July, and then we'll do episode 2 starting in August. But fuck, man, I counted how many horror films were Actually, theatrical release. These are not like direct-to-video ones. Like this is the golden year for horror. Everyone follows Horror Hound, and they have like the Blu-ray releases. Like holy shit! Like this is all theatrical
An
releases.
insane amount of school movies, kids getting dances and shit, and wolf movies.
Yes,
Holiday,
horror.
the holiday movies are there too.
Yeah,
this year.
well, yeah, they kind of fall in with the
Slashers.
actual school movies too, because everyone always has to have like a prom or fucking graduation. Like every movie I watch, I was like, holy fuck, they're at prom again. Oh, they're at a dance.
It's a party.
Somebody's mad again.
Yeah.
Before the next episode, I want to make sure I get a kill count for this year.
Oh my god, man.
Lots of kids died, just like Adam Walsh.
Lots of fucking teenagers died. Lots of kids.
Yeah, definitely the tropes were created. The final girl was definitely set in play. This is the year of the slasher, especially for the big screen.
Lots of bad cops.
God, yeah.
Lots of terrible fucking cops.
Bad detectives. Is that what you're talking about? Or
Yeah,
just bad cops?
Bad cops and detectives in
Okay,
general.
yeah.
How many times are there cops in these movies that are like, we don't believe you?
I know,
and everybody's
right?
just fucking dead.
Oh, god damn it. So where do you want to start? Let's start with Scanners.
When was Scanners released? Probably like January 1st.
January 1st?
January
Scanner.
1st.
Yeah, I
they
got
were
it.
like New Year's Day.
got
Let's
it
blow
on
up some fucking heads.
On the whiteboard of doom. Scanners.
Scanners is
January 1st.
one of those movies that even if you haven't seen it, you've seen the GIF of the dude's head exploding at the
Right.
beginning of the movie.
Yeah, the 10
A
seconds.
little bit into the movie, but yeah.
Yeah. The whole.
It starts off with the weird, like, bad, like, scene where he's just staring at that bitch in the food court, which feels like watching it in 2021, like, it feels like a SNL skit. Because he's just staring at it.
It's like Sandberg, just like
yeah.
he kind of looks like him.
And there's so many jokes about like scanning people and stuff since this came out. Which
this is so good that Full Moon made transfers.
Yeah, just move some letters around.
But we're not going to talk about it. We'll talk about this
Scanners.
movie.
The thing about this film that I remember as a kid, I didn't get to see it for like years later, but no one seems to remember the actual fucking characters. They always remember Michael Ironside's character. And he's the villain. He's a badass.
You know what's a fun fact about Michael Ironside in
Hit
this
me.
movie? He's 30.
In this movie?
How the fuck is he
still
30? How does he look 55 years old?
It's like
he's
him and
fucking
Reggie
30 years
Bannister,
old?
man.
Dude, I had to look that up because I was like, man, Ironside couldn't have been that old at this point. And I Googled, like, he's fucking 30, but
He's
he
very
looks
young.
so old.
No. I mean, 30 is old for 1981.
He's a rough 30.
I mean, he's a rough,
Yeah, people worked hard.
hard.
You know, unlike today.
Yeah.
I'm totally kidding.
And everyone, I don't know if that drug dog, you guys would know because you were alive at this time. Was that fucking drug dog around back at this time? The little, the brown dog that wore the jacket?
Oh, the gruff. Was it the crime dog?
Yeah,
crime dog.
Gruff McGruff or something
I
like
can't
that. I
remember.
don't
That
know.
guy ended up being a fucking piece of shit.
Everyone in this movie's dressed like him. Like they're all wearing this.
They all wear
like,
trench
the
coats.
trench coats
It's
and
great.
everything. I'm like,
So you say he aged like Tim Thomerson.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Dude, Tim Thomerson was probably 25 in this. I can't remember. But nobody remembers like Cameron Vale and Jennifer O'Neill. Like these were like good actors, and Jennifer O'Neill was like they were more concerned with her fucking personal life than they were in the movie, and she's fantastic in the movie.
Yeah.
Dick Smith effects, that
Yeah.
head explosion.
It's a cool movie.
Well, I tried to
The
find
ending scene?
Yeah, I tried to find like a fact about each movie that I watched, and something I found about this one is apparently this was inspired from the novel of Naked Lunch. Because in the novel, they mention, they call them Cinders. They're a terrorist organization that uses telepathy.
Okay.
So it's a nice connection. Because
It's a connection. Cronenberg, Naked Lunch.
Cronenberg made Naked Lunch later.
Fucking
so
A. Let's all get high and make movies.
I just got excited because
I like it.
there's a poster for a band called Herman Brood and His Wild Romance, a band I've never heard of in my fucking life. But they're a real thing, and that's the weirdest fucking name
Oh, I thought
ever.
it was like a little
I
sneak
thought they
towards
just-
the brood.
No, I thought they just made it up too because there's like it's a scene when they're at the record store and they go to like the back alley and there's just this big ass poster. It's like a Herman Brood and His Wild Romance, and I'm like, what was His Wild Romance? And I looked it up, and this was a thing that existed for years. They
Did
may
you
still
listen?
be together. No, I was gonna listen and give a
Oh,
review on
man.
this show, but I think I just got drunk instead.
probably a better idea.
That's pretty much like all my notes are so vague. I watched Scanners start like the beginning of this. I've just said Michael Ironside 30 going on 50. There's a weird Hellraiser art show. Right. There's a record store, awkward shotgun guy.
And I'm fucking the
Crying
band
cops.
crashes to it. Yeah.
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 The thing about this movie that most people remember most is the head explosion scene. And
Well, yeah, it's iconic.
everyone, if you don't know the story, it's because at the beginning of the film, it's Michael Ironside. You don't even know who the hell he is, but he is going against another scanner, and it's supposed to be just a normal guy. Well, the trick is he's like the fucking scanner,
Yeah.
and he just he's like reverses blows this dude's head up. And how they did the effect was they were having problems with all these trying to get it done. So the technician at the time just said, you know what, clear the set. I got a shotgun. I don't know where you got it, and just blew the fucking prop to pieces. And in that prop, there was like they found whatever they could to put in there, including fucking hamburgers.
Oh,
that's a thing.
Yeah, there's probably left from craft
Yeah, I
services.
was gonna say
Hey,
Whoppers.
Hey, don't cook those. We need those for later.
That scene should have been saved probably for later in the movie, though, because it gives you some crazy expectations of what's going to happen. And there's so many like letdowns, like the crying cops. Like there's all those fucking cops in the building that are like, you know, shitty cops. And instead of like killing them, it's like, now you're crying and you're sad and you're in a corner. And then like the climax to the movie is literally a staring contest. That's all it is.
Well, I mean, they moved it up. That was an intentional thing to move that up to the beginning of the movie. It you know, they could have put it back there, but they wanted it in the beginning of the movie.
It's kind of the beginning of like the whole let's grab him at the beginning, and then you're supposed to grab him again at the end.
Yeah,
the ending just didn't match that fucking beginning.
Another thing about that scene, like Michael Ironside's like, "Oh no, look at his head exploded," and he just gets up like, "Doo doo doo."
Yeah,
You know, it's like that motherfucker's guilty.
time for some coffee.
If somebody's head explodes next to you, and you're just like, "Huh, look at that."
Yeah, it smells like hamburgers. I'm gonna get some lunch.
It doesn't. Isn't the whole ending is like he just takes over Michael Ironside's body somehow?
Yeah, they have a.
Yeah.
It's his brother. Well,
If you don't know, we don't give a fuck about spoiling anything.
It's his brother.
Podcast.
The other guy is what was his Cameron Vale.
So
Cameron Vale is a
imagine
badass.
looking like that dude, but you're considered winning because now you look like Michael Ironside.
Right? You went from looking like, you know,
That's
kind of
a
attractive
loss.
guy to looking like
That's
Michael
a loss,
Ironside.
dude.
I know.
That's a loss. I mean, career-wise, not a loss.
But he has his voice and his eyes at least. You know, his little sexy blue eyes.
Yeah,
It was a cool
guess.
scene because you could see like the veins and everything popping up, and he's just,
Oh, yeah.
his eyes go white, and it's the scene that's on the if you get the DVD or the VHS, that scene is always on the cover.
Yeah,
so it's
yeah.
really weird. It's like cool. There's the end of the movie.
20 seconds, you
Yeah,
explode.
because there's not really outside of that head explosion scene. There's nothing else you could really show that's that cool from the movie.
Right. Well, you gotta.
It's still. I mean, I'll sound like shitting on it. It's a good movie. The sequels are fucking awful, but that's a good movie. It's just there's not a lot that happens. It's more of a detective movie and with some sci-fi elements.
Yeah. And it was early, so, I mean, Cronenberg wrote, directed it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is also one of the last movies he did with the money that he could get from the country of Canada, which is from, they tried to kind of hide that it was a Canadian production, but because America, that was, like, this is actually his first big film release outside of Canada. I mean, you could find other ones, but this was the one that kind of set the standard for what he was going to be known for.
Set the standard for every dorky fuck I know. Going, oh, do you like Cronenberg? Do you have the Criterion collection of the Cronenberg movies?
Yes, I do.
Surprisingly, this isn't the only
motherfuckers
movie
do.
that was filmed that year that was filmed in Canada, but we'll get to that one.
Oh, okay. Let's do it.
Well, next would be Fear No Evil,
Yeah.
which I am not. I did not watch this one. I don't know much about this one.
All
Steve.
right, so Fear No Evil is kind of like it's a
gonna
was
Google
Frank
it.
Loggia. I always get his name mixed up with Frank Loggia.
La Loggia.
Wait, there's a difference? They're not the same person?
No, Frank Loggia's a badass. This guy just directs good movies sometimes. This is the one that I actually did not get a chance to watch. I put it on my list. I wanted to go back and revisit it. Mainly because when I saw it, it was all about they always talk about the box. That box was like something was really.
It's another school fucking movie?
Yeah.
I Googled it. Holy shit, I didn't even watch this one either, but I look at the
It's like the devil, baby.
Alexandria High, class of 81. All the students are going to hell except Andrew. He sent them there.
Oh, well,
Hey, what the fuck, Andrew? You piece of shit.
Everybody I know named Andrew's a
God,
dick. So
fuck
that's par for the
Andrew.
course.
Yeah, because later on, Andrew's a piece of shit in Hell Night.
Yeah.
81, not a good year for Andrews. And I know a lot of Andrews in their fucking 30s and 40s. So their mom saw this shit and was like, I'm going to have a piece of shit kid. Andrew.
We're gonna let him. I'm go by Drew now. Okay, goddamn it.
Yeah, that's why I know so many Drews, too.
Well, let's
That
jump
explains a lot.
to fucking Blood Beach, Dave. This is one of your favorite movies, isn't it?
No,
I know it's not. It's not. It's a joke. And anybody's ever seen one of our public domain theater episodes, Dave and I did this live streaming one night, and holy fuck! The only thing that's great about it is it's John Saxon movie.
So Blood Beach
He's
is
a cop.
public, it's public
Blood Beach.
domain?
Yeah, it is. It
That's
is, or it
fun.
was. It's never been released on Blu-ray or DVD. I think it was released on VHS and maybe once on DVD, but I don't even think then. I think maybe it was like in Germany.
So-
There's a German version on DVD.
The tagline: "Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, you can't get to it
You can't get to it. That's fucking
because you
crazy.
die on the beach."
Like they just stole like Jaws' tagline and just add it to it.
Yeah, it's like the rancor, not the rancor monster, the Sarlacc pit monster under the water.
You're worried about me saying fucking Gatorade on this show, but they can do that shit on the front of a fucking movie.
There were no graboids in this movie.
Let's see. That was released in January 23rd. Then we got January 23rd. Again, Burial Ground. I never saw that movie.
I don't know what the fuck Burial Ground
Never
is.
seen that one either.
Well, if you have, here's the opportunity, guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, tell us what your favorite 81 movie is. Get in the comments. Tell us, like, motherfuckers, you didn't talk about this, or this is my favorite director. Do that shit for us. We're going to skip to fucking February.
Yeah, we're going to skip a lot. Like, there's going to be movies we skip on this. And it's just like anytime you watch, like, any of these, like, documentaries and shit when they go year by year, they're not like us, though, where we're going to mention the movie and just say, hey, we don't know fuck all about that. They're going to act like they know everything about everything.
Right.
And they'll just ignore all this other shit. We'll mention it, but we'll tell you if we've fucking seen it or not.
The next is the other movie that was filmed in Canada, My Bloody Valentine.
My Bloody Valentine.
My Bloody Valentine. If you listen to our episode we did 1980, right?
Yeah, we did.
And if you listen to that episode, you will hear me fuck up and start talking about My Bloody Valentine for like 3 straight minutes before they go, Derek, that came out in 81. So
that was great.
That was a great thing.
Yeah, well, I remember because you were upset. You were like, because it didn't come out in 1980.
Yeah, so if you want to hear what I think about that fucking movie, go back and listen to that because I feel like a piece of
Well,
shit.
this is the movie that was affected by John Lennon dying. The MPAA
really?
cut out 5 minutes of the movie
that guy
because there
sucks
was so
even in
much
death.
backlash from violence in TV and violence in movies that they thought it was too much. So they had to cut it out.
They thought the violence
crazy.
in My Bloody Valentine was too much
Yeah.
because John Lennon got shot.
Yeah, it was too much. The public was outraged and they didn't want to see violence.
Yeah.
But
Well, this was the beginning of censorship hardcore in the 80s. We're going to see a lot of these films. They're like banned in 37 countries. Even the ones that are lying, they're kind of lying.
I hope somebody watched Scanners and was like, you know what? Lennon's head would look good like that.
Oh shit! If you don't remember, Derek hates John Lennon, but
Yeah, fuck it. Sorry,
yeah,
Beatles fans.
He's not into women beaters.
I'm not into it. I think he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Beatles are fine.
also, my fun fact for this one is they had to use special lighting in the mines because it could have blown up.
Oh yeah,
Moment.
the methane or whatever
Yeah.
that's down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
They cleaned up the mines so well they had to re-dirty them up or light them. They went down there. Somebody went down there and cleaned up the mines. I don't know how you can clean up fucking rocks, but
big
they
room.
did. And they had to go back there and add more shit and grind to make it look more like it's been used. It's like, well, I mean, it had been used. Now, what did you sweep? I mean, come on, guys.
This got a wide release, right?
Yes, it
Oh,
did.
yeah.
It was. And
did it do well?
It did okay. It made like $5 million off of $2. Off of $2.
Yeah, $2 menu. It's 2.3 million, and it made 5.7 million.
Okay, I knew it was something like that.
Did you take your girlfriend to see it?
No, I didn't see this until probably
Did
the
you take your
90s.
girlfuend to see it?
I was 1 year old.
Oh,
I wasn't
fuck
old
it.
enough.
Oh,
My
so
parents-
you were a little virgin.
My parents probably went to the drive-in and saw it. They did it a lot,
Yes.
and they were like, "Well, you gotta stay home with your sister," and I'm like, "Fuck."
Oh man.
But this is one of those movies that a lot of people did not get to see the uncut version until like what was it? Anchor Bay put out a version
Yeah.
of it.
So you're close to the age of going to the movies to see horror films.
I was not allowed to go to. See, I was allowed to see these movies at home.
Yeah.
I was not allowed to go out because some places were actually enforcing that.
Oh,
this
look
kid,
at the-
we're not going to let you in with your kid. I was like, he's a guardian.
Yeah.
They didn't care.
I know. I try to do that all the time when I'm buying cocaine.
Try to take your child along. Oh God.
I'm just kidding. I don't buy cocaine.
the
I'm
thing-
too poor.
You leave your child at home.
We did touch on this film a couple of times in this podcast, and one of the things I can't remember if I brought it up or not was the scene that is mirrored in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. It's the Large Marge scene. It's the same actor who does the scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure that Tim Burton got. It's the same kind of lighting. He's in a bar. He's like on this night,
Yeah.
It's exact, and he's telling the story of Harry Warden. That was fucking awesome.
That's cool.
And it wasn't until recently that they found out they found out who actually sang the lyrics to the Ballad of Harry
That
Warden.
song, I've had that on like every Halloween mix forever, but it just
Right?
says the Ballad of Harry Warden. It doesn't say anything else.
Yeah, it tells you who did the score, and they don't tell you who actually sang. It's like, oh, it's Paul
So who did
Zaza
it?
wrote it, but he didn't sing it.
So who sings it?
Fuck if I remember. I listened to a podcast a couple years.
You let us all in on that.
I
Okay, just
know,
like don't have
I
the
know.
It's like a
fucking answer.
letdown.
I could dig if you want.
That's
to,
a
but-
weird
and then you
thing.
can bring it up later. And let's go on to Porno Holocaust. Has anybody seen it?
No.
Did you really? Oh, the joke. I thought the joke was going to be like, no, because I can't
Where'd you
fucking
find
find
Porno
it.
I fucking
Holocaust
found
at?
it on a
Holy
fucking
shit. Okay,
on a
everybody.
fucking- on fucking
On the dark web. On the
shit-
dark web.
on a shitty porn site.
There are presents on this podcast.
It was
Give
on,
it to me,
on a
Dave.
shitty porn
Give
site.
me my porno podcast.
What is this
All
porn
right,
site?
so it was Joe D'Amato and George Eastman. George Eastman wrote it. He's the guy that was in. He wrote Absurd. He wrote Anthropophagus.
How
He
busy
was-
is Joe D'Amato, by the way, in the 80s?
in this year he
81
released
all.
2 movies.
Yeah.
He released 2 movies. So I'm only assuming that those two hooked up after making Anthropophagus the year before, which is also called Grim Reaper, right?
Right, yeah.
And they were like, "Hey man, I got an idea for a porno. It's got zombies and it's a porno." And that's pretty much the whole thing. Like, it's fucking bad, and it's like 70s. It's like shitty 70s porn where like you just got dudes like around a woman and she looks coked up.
Oh yeah,
and enjoying yourself so much.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But like
Stag films.
It's like I was just like, all right, let's fast forward the fucking. Let's get to the storyline and see if it's any good.
You don't know how to watch a porno.
Yeah, it's an 80s porn. You've watched 80s porn.
Is it like Driller?
I'm in a couple.
It's bad. It's
the Michael Jackson Thriller porn.
I don't know. I like Flesh Gordon, and that's kind of I like the uncut version of Caligula.
But like,
so
eventually,
where is it on the?
Eventually,
on that
also it's in Italian. There were no subtitles. I just had to guess what was going on.
What's porn, Dick?
So
I love that he's watching porn trying to guess what's going on. They're gonna fuck.
No, they fuck. But there's
but
also a storyline. There's a story like
with the Holocaust.
You're the only person in the history of the world who looked at this film and go, "What's the story?"
I just wanted to know because I was very curious.
I read the articles.
Oh my!
I bought for the joke.
Eventually, you see like the head zombie who fucks people, and like it's got murder in it, and it's got like gory murder in it.
Well, it's
like,
called Porno Holocaust.
Yeah, so it's like watching a Joe D'Amato movie, but there's actual penetration, but not with a knife. And it's weird because the people at the end are like, "We got away. We should probably fuck on this boat now," and they fuck on the boat.
That's happened in regular horror movies.
Yeah.
Severance does it when Danny Dyer gets away with the two hookers on the boat.
He's not lying.
Maybe it's a tribute.
Maybe it is a tribute. But that's all I have to say about it. It was not good.
Well, let's get to March then, because holy shit, that was amazing. Porno Holocaust. Thank you, Dave.
It's online. Check it out.
Is it? I looked. I couldn't find the motherfucker.
You got to Google it.
Oh, well, no shit.
I just feel like it's going to give my computer a virus.
Let's see. March release. You know, there weren't a whole lot of releases in March. There's Madhouse, The Funhouse, Omen 3, Eyes of a Stranger. Let's talk about The Funhouse.
So, okay, yeah.
February 13th.
February 13th. So,
Toby Hooper.
Tobe Hooper.
So they still,
by Dean Koontz.
Still an audience from February 13th, you said?
Yeah.
Whoa, okay.
March 13th, Steve.
March 13th.
Hey, I could be wrong. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So you're still the audience for My Bloody Valentine Day at Funhouse. So Funhouse is one I've seen a bunch of times. I didn't go back and visit it in this case, but I do like the monster in this a lot. And this is Tobe Hooper from Texas Chainsaw Massacre making like a creepy Funhouse film.
Yeah.
And it's not trying to be funny or zany in any type of way. To me, there's
some uncomfortable scenes in this film.
This made it weird for me because, if you live in fucking Kentucky or you live anywhere, you have a state fair that has like a weird like carnival or fun house that you can walk through. I saw this when I was probably like 10 years old on VHS, and it freaked the fuck out of me like the next 2 years when we'd go through those fun houses. Because you'd ride that shitty, like janky metal cart through there.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I'm going to fucking die. This is how I get murdered. Gunther, right?
Yeah,
Gunther. Being here. Yeah. With his stringy... It's cool because he wears that like.
I remember his whole last
name. He wears that goofy Frankenstein mask for a while in the movie, so he's just kind of.
Yeah, that's it. Tweebunt.
And he's treated like Leatherface, right? It's got like a Leatherface dynamic where he's considered like the idiot of this group, but he murders people. So
and it's very much like Leatherface, where the people remember him so much, but like it's an entire family.
Yeah,
and they're all fucked up.
I love it because he wears that fucking Frankenstein mask, and when the mask comes off, he's just terrifying.
Right.
Because you think they're compensating for something, right? He's wearing this mask because you don't want to. You're just going to have this idiot in a Frankenstein mask. And then they pull it off and you're like, what the fuck? That stringy white hair and those.
Rick Baker did that.
He's got those newborn baby eyes.
Right.
They're fucking just fucking
pug eyes.
Buggy and black and shit. Like, hey, you look just like your dad. Like, you're fucking dead.
Oh, my God.
But this is also another movie because Tobe Hooper was offered E.T. while he was making this. I read this.
What?
I read this
How
today.
Did I skip that?
And
maybe I didn't want to think about that.
He was offered E.T., but he was busy making this movie, so he just decided to do this.
Wasn't E.T. originally supposed to be a bit scarier though? Wasn't that the whole? Because I remember E.T. I remember seeing things of like what he was supposed to look like before, and that's not how E.T. turned out. Like the kids' movie that we see was apparently supposed to be a lot different.
Okay, I would have loved to have seen because it's a Halloween movie. E.T. is. I would love to have seen the horror version of that.
It would have been cool if somebody just took the original idea and just made a movie with that creature. Because I can't remember, but I know I've seen documentaries where they bring it up how E.T. looks or was supposed to look and how they were looking at these horror directors and Tobe Hooper doing it. It's kind of fucking funny to me.
That's hilarious.
Because then who did E.T.? Spielberg?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Spielberg
and
did.
so they had that whole poltergeist dynamic, right, between the 2?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it? Yeah. Because Tobe Hooper gets no credit for Poltergeist.
Well, I mean, Spielberg helped a lot of people. He gave Joe Dante fucking Gremlins. I mean, he loves the genre, and he looks and goes, "I want to make that," but everybody knows me as the fun guy. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
you made Jaws. Whatever. Let's skip over that shit.
Well, Jaws is a fun
The thing
guy
about
movie,
the
though.
Funhouse that I really loved was Kevin Conway played like the 3 different characters, and unless you really pay attention, you just think it's the same guy. He's 3 different like brothers almost, and they're all completely different. Like a biker version, and there's like the
He wanted to
redneck
play
guy.
the Barkers.
Right, it's great.
And that was one of the things for him to do in the movie. He said, "I want to play all 3 of the carnival Barkers."
Right, and it's very subtle. But every one of them has their own character. They have different voices. So as a kid, I was like, "It's the same. How's he getting around so fast?" But then you know,
yeah.
and then I realized it. And I'm like,
I mean, and to be fair, that's any horror movie you ever watch is how's he get around so fast?
Yeah, it's like whenever he passed away,
Cardio.
they got like they ended up like Dennis Fimple ended up kind of doing those roles for like Rob Zombie, like that kind of style, like that greasy older guy with the stringy hair. Yeah,
I always wonder how a movie like that would hold up if I showed it to my son, because I haven't showed the Funhouse to my kid, but he doesn't go to fun houses. Like that shit's not a thing anymore for kids.
Well, maybe if you
That's so
find
depressing.
maybe if you find one, you should show them that before you take them.
yeah, that's really
Oh,
depressing.
yeah.
Carnivals are so awesome, and they're
Yeah.
dangerous as fuck because nobody.
I know, and it's a lot
There's
different
no
now.
like regulations.
I just miss the ones that they used to open up in front of the mall, and everything was rusty, and you could see like the heroin needle still popping out of the balloon guy's fucking arm. But now it's like one little ride, and it's all nice and neat and shit, and a hot dog stand.
They pop up in front of a Walmart parking lot now.
Yeah, but it's literally like one ride and a hot dog stand. It's not like they used to do when
Right.
if they did pop up, you still had like 5 fucking rides.
And this is an entire city.
Yeah,
And
I remember at Southland Terrace, like in Shively in Louisville, they would take up that whole fucking parking lot with like
Right,
the carnival
yeah.
and shit. But now it's like Jefferson Mall. Here's like a half-ass Ferris wheel and a funnel cake thing.
Right. Well, and the thing that this is in is, it's called the Funhouse, but back then they were just called the Dark Ride. It's a dark ride. You went into a huge warehouse-like size place. Everything's black, and then the lights would just come on when you're in your little cart, and you would just basically be in one room. But when lights would come on, you would see the set. They kind of did that in House with 1,000 Corpses with the murder ride. It's the exact same kind of idea.
Well, they did Dark Ride with that 8 Films to Die For.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
It had the fat kid from Sandlot who was now skinny and his skin was all droopy. But so it was pretty. That was actually out of those 8 Films to Die For. That was probably one of my favorite ones because it reminded me of Funhouse. Except they went for the whole like the Scream mystery killer shit was still really popular at that time, so they went that route. But
But that's a great movie.
no, it's really cool. And it's genuinely creepy when you're a kid, and if you're an adult, you watch it in the fucking dark, and it's a little creepy. Not
Yeah,
as
it's
much as
kind
it used
of-
to be, but.
It's kind of the last Tobe Hooper movie that's really kind of like disturbing and dark. Then you get Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, which I love, but it's not the same. It's not even close.
I'm a basic bitch. I love that Frankenstein mask. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
I
and
think
it was
it's
great
still
that
sick.
Universal is the one that did that film, so they could get licensed.
You could get through with it. Yeah.
Hell yeah, they
'Cause
could.
It's not often you can do that shit with Universal. They'll sue you. Even their fucking vendors will, pieces of shit.
We know that personally, especially you.
Yeah, I hate those guys.
So what
what's
else did?
next?
He said
Omen
Eyes-
3.
Well, he had Eyes of the, what was it? Oh, no, Omen 3 is next. Yeah.
Omen 3 came
Sam
out
Neill.
March 20th.
So I
The
never-
Final Conflict.
I didn't know Sam Neill was in this.
Is Sam
We had
Neill?
talked about it a few podcasts ago.
That's
just
such
barely.
a weird thing to me because he's like, I put his age there too. He was 30 and 81.
What the fuck is
So he's
30-year
like,
club?
he's the opposite of Michael Ironside.
Yeah, he looks really
He
young.
looks so fucking young. Like even going into the 90s, it looks so young, and I'm like, he's the same age as. Imagine being Michael Ironside knowing Sam Neill's the same age as you. Yeah, fuck.
Oh my God, Patrick Stewart. Yeah, same thing. He looked young,
like
but
what the fuck, dude? How do you look that young forever? That's really the only note I got. Is just talking about. Oh no, lots of baby murder.
Yeah. Yeah, because this.
please elaborate.
Yeah, well, this movie is about Damien is older, and Damien gets a job. He's with the UN and the government, so politicians are the devil, so that makes sense. But the
Government?
second coming of Christ has happened.
Oh, the Nazarene.
Because so they get killed.
Yeah,
the
so it
babies.
was like on March. It's sometime in March. Maybe it was on the day it was released. Fuck, I don't know. but so he's going around trying to just kill every baby born on that day, and he's getting pretty good at it because there's only one left.
Oh, that one that lady takes a hot iron to the baby in it. Remember she's like, I'm gonna burn this fucking baby.
And the movie's actually really, really good, and Sam Neill does a good job.
It's better than the Omen 2.
It is way better than the Omen 2.
Oh, man, I love Omen 2. I guess because when I saw it, I was young. I didn't see Omen 3. I didn't know what the fuck it was because I always saw the Final Conflict. I didn't know it was the Omen 3.
Well, I didn't even know when you sent us the list. You sent us the Final Conflict. I didn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Like, what the fuck? Because I'm not an Omen
That sounds
fan.
dumb, Steve. And it
Yeah,
did. That's why I didn't.
And
think
I'm
about
like,
it.
well, oh yeah, Omen 3. watched it once in my life, so I went online again. And I was like, oh, let me do my refresher real quick on it. And I'm like, okay, I remember baby murder.
They missed
All
the
the
boat
baby
with
murder.
this one though, because like at the end of it,
That ending's
because
bad.
they're making
the
a third
ending,
Omen movie.
The ending,
That's-
actually, this one was. I thought it was pretty good. The ending was fucking bullshit.
It's like
Yeah.
the ending of The Stand.
Yeah, it's just like he stabs the kid and he's like, I fucking killed your kid. I killed Jesus. And then he's all like showboating, like, fuck you.
a Nazarene.
I'm Nazarene.
Yeah,
Like, and then the old lady just comes up and fucking stabs him. And then like you see like fucking Jesus in a light form, and then there's a bunch of scripture, and they're like, Jesus is coming back. And I'm like, yeah, but could you have been like, Jesus is coming back and here's the rapture? Like,
Right. Oh,
like really
yeah.
like really gone for it at the end of that movie, and like been like, all right, so people are on fire, go to church or you're gonna die. Like if they were wanting to get their point across. I'm sure that the Catholic Church loved this movie because it's another one that scares the fuck out of people and gets them back into the
That's
church.
a ballsy storyline, though, for especially even 81 going, like, hey, we're going to kill all the babies because we think they might be Jesus.
Well,
Right. It's the complete opposite of
They're
the
like-
other one.
and
Like
he
what God
almost
did.
succeeded if it wasn't for that damn housemaid.
Yeah.
Like, did the first Omen really piss you off? Well, here's what we have for you with part 3.
I think by now they were just like, let's fuck it. They're gonna hate it no matter what we do. They're gonna hate it. So
Was this a straight-to-video release? I
Not
feel
that I
like
remember.
No, it was
No.
in the theater. Sam Neill did
Oh,
a great
oh,
job
Sam
in this
Neill, yeah, I
movie.
mean,
He did a great job, man. His acting carried the fucking movie, but that ending.
I wonder
God,
how he feels about it now. I wonder if, like, if you interview Sam Neill and bring up
know.
Omen 3.
I mean, he probably likes it because at that age, I didn't know him before that film. Even
Yeah.
when I found it, I'd never heard of this guy.
You're like, hey, Sam, remember all that time you wanted to kill Jesus?
Remember that? Asshole.
Remember that?
Yeah, but
Remember
he
that?
saved kids from dinosaurs like a few years later and everything. It's okay.
That's all it was
A few
good.
years, 12 years later,
Yeah, it's just like 2.
when he was still 30.
Eyes of a Stranger came out in 27.
What the fuck is Eyes of a Stranger?
I've
You
never,
don't have a VHS for it?
Something I couldn't find online.
Well, I didn't revisit some of these because there's, like I said, there's like, god damn, so many.
Yeah, there is a lot of these. And I'm going to go back to one of my rants all the time. Buy physical media because a lot of this shit doesn't even fucking exist. And the ones that were really hard to find were on fucking Tubi.
Yeah.
So, like, Tubi was my go-to for, and that's not even a pay-for thing. You just got to watch fucking commercials and watch Tubi. So, once again, keep physical media alive, man, or you
Yeah.
can't watch half this shit. It's all vanishing.
Well, I've got
And
April.
you'll never know it.
Yeah, you will. I know. Like we talk about it all the time. Physical fucking
guess what,
media.
though? Guess what, though? It has to do with a party because the cover of it is, sorry, your party is dead.
So a bunch of teenagers get killed again.
No.
Oh, Jennifer Jason Leigh, though. Well, that's what's up.
Oh, I used to love her Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Yeah.
Maybe,
the
maybe we
film-
fucked up. Maybe we should have watched this
The
one.
film centers around a murderer and a rapist in Miami who stalks his victims and then calls them repeatedly before raping and killing them. So it's just Richard Ramirez.
Before
Yeah.
Richard Ramirez was, a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably glad I didn't watch it. I'm not super into the rapey movies, but Savini did all the special effects on it, so that's kind of cool.
Savini was busy this year. That year.
Yes, he was. He was doing the whole, as he says, like the suitcase tour, where he just would go from town to town to town and murder people, as he calls it. Let's just
see.
jump to March, and I'm to April, actually.
You're going backwards, Steve.
Yeah, you
Monster
can't-
Club.
You can't
Monster
go back-
Club.
I recently watched this. It was on Shudder, and I just saw it as Vincent Price.
Donald
And-
Pleasance.
Yeah, Donald Pleasance was in it, which he did. He did 2 movies that year, in 81.
Yeah.
He was almost in the 3rd one. We'll get to that. So it's an anthology movie. So Vincent Price finds this author on the street, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a vampire. Come to this club with me." And they start telling stories.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty good.
It's one of the last anthologies before Creepshow, kind of like, this is how you do anthologies now in the 80s.
Yeah, I mean,
This is still like written. This was directed by the guy who did like Asylum for Amicus, and he did a lot of Hammer films like Scars of Dracula. The director did. I'm talking about, and this was still kind of like the old school anthology, and I think it was just a little bit too stuffy for that crowd, for the MTV crowd.
yeah.
Well, the MTV
Even though
crowd was
MTV
just now invented.
Right, it's
so,
like came
come
on the air. Actually, I don't even know if it was on the air at this point. I forgot what
always
month. I
snobby
think maybe it
about
was
it.
August when MTV started. But I'm just using that as a term.
It was tagged as Vincent Price, Donald Pleasance, John Carradine, The Monster Club, a tongue-in-cheek trilogy of terror.
It's just fun. It's just a fun movie. If you get a chance to watch it, watch it. We won't harp on it, but we go next to the next one.
So I've got the Black Cat.
Which this was the other movie that Donald Pleasance was offered a part in. Originally, Fulci offered the part to Professor Miles to Peter Cushing. He declined to do it.
That would have been awesome.
Well, he declined to do it because he's not into gore, and Fulci loves gore, so he he decided not to. He's like, I don't want to fucking do your movie. And then he offered it to Donald Pleasance. And Donald Pleasance said no. I guess he was just fucking busy with all this other shit. And then you got your. I can't remember the guy who played him.
Oh, I forgot.
But it's been so long since I've seen it. But I mean, this movie is just a Edgar Allan Poe story. Basically.
When you hear this cat breathing down your neck, start praying before you finish your amen. You're dead. The Black Cat.
Yeah, this one was only released in Italy in '81. We didn't get it until like '83, and that happened with a few Italian films where you'll go on these lists, you'll go on different podcasts, and you'll go on different like YouTube channels, and they're like, "Oh, this is the list of '81," and I love Italian films. I'm like, that's not true. At least we didn't get the release. So I guess it is true he did come out in '81, but nobody else saw it except for Italy.
Yeah, I mean, that happens with a lot of those, too, with the dubs and shit. I just liked, when I just now looked up the posters, the American posters, like all this cool art of a black cat. Then you go to the poster in Italy, and it's literally just a picture of a black cat, like screaming, and it just says "the Black Cat" and has that same tagline I just read off.
Yeah.
Like Italy doesn't give a fuck.
That's probably like a legendary cat. The cat's probably been thrown in more movies than we can
I
count.
know, they're like Argento has thrown this fucking cat so many times.
We're gonna revisit that, but I definitely we're gonna do a whole Fulci episode. And that definitely will be a part of that.
I'd do like a Fulci month if we cover Fulci like that.
Yeah, right.
Just for my brain not to fucking fry from everything.
From there, we get to Derek's favorite werewolf movie that came out that year, The Howling.
Not even my second favorite.
You're going to make him
movie
explode.
of
Have you
that
seen
year.
Scanners? I don't know if you've seen Scanners, but this is
God.
going to happen.
Imagine if
He's
that-
going to make you explode.
He does not like this movie. Tell us why.
If that would have, because it fucking sucks shit.
Okay, this is why Derek and I. This was the year that he and I are going to have the showdown.
Where's your Howling? Do you have your Howling VHS up here? Yeah, here we go.
Oh, don't
I'm wearing
fuck it! Don't
my
you dare
Howling
throw it.
T-shirt.
Yeah. Oh, Dave was. If
So-
you're watching YouTube, Dave was wearing his Eddie Quist shirt.
No tagline. It just has these like fucking reviews. Absolutely unique from some mouth breather at People magazine. One of the best werewolf movies ever made. Los Angeles magazine. So some hipster fucking dork in his mom's basement.
Now they probably should have waited until the rest of the year was done because 3 werewolf movies come
Yeah,
out
I
that
mean,
year. So
I mean, how many movies were even out? Were you talking about Universal's fucking werewolf bullshit? Let's read this off. Let's read how stupid this movie is. Alone in a remote cabin one dark night, a beautiful young woman hears an unearthly shriek pierce the air.
Masterpiece.
The eerie sound continues. Physically, until finally, unable to hear it any longer, she takes a flashlight and goes outside to investigate.
Always a good
Yeah,
idea.
this great classic movie, in your movie descriptions, like, so a woman gets a flashlight and goes outside. That's when the howling begins. The sinister world of its supernatural creatures stalks human prey. The werewolf is explored in this contemporary tale of timeless terror, featuring incredible special effects. I'll fucking give it that. At least something's true on this.
Great special effects.
And expert direction by
amazing.
Joe Dante. Yeah, Joe Dante's pretty great. Gremlins, Piranha, they mentioned movies better than The Howling. Is guaranteed to thrill everyone
Can we
watching.
mute his
Wait a minute,
microphone?
This last sentence, guaranteed to thrill everyone watching. I'm holding this case, and I was not thrilled. So where's the ticket to get my money back, motherfuckers?
Oh, Derek.
I'd rather watch fucking Full Moon High laying here right next to
Which
it.
was another movie. The thing,
I don't-
if you followed our podcast, Derek and I always go back and forth on the 1980 movie
81.
movies, The Howling and American Werewolf in London.
Because one's so much better than the other.
I'm neutral. I love them.
Better
both.
soundtrack.
I do love them both.
Cooler werewolves. Better actors.
See, but that doesn't have merit. Like both werewolves were awesome.
But it didn't have only had one shitty
Rick
sequel.
Baker had to leave this set
Only had
to
one
go
shitty
do
sequel.
American Werewolf in London.
Yeah, he had to leave because he's like, oh, there's a better movie being made?
No, because he made a deal with John Landis years before to do his film, and then he left.
Yeah,
Rob
he's like, I wanna
Bottin.
go.
So this film gave us Rob Bottin because he was like, I've got to go. I have a contract.
How many people has-
You take over the effects. Here's how we did them. Take off.
How many people has Joe Dante murdered on set? Oh, man. Zero?
Yeah, because he's a good
Zero.
person.
So get out of my genre. Get out.
We hate John Landis, but we love his movies.
All right, I guess we'll move on.
And I love Joe Dante. So
because Derek has gone full aggro here, but
It's great. I
you've
love
never,
this movie.
If you've never seen it, you should watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna do.
hey,
a full
don't be mad.
breakdown
2 out of
this
the 3
one time.
people on this episode love the fucking Howling. I don't hate it as much as I act like.
Yeah,
but,
we're playing around here.
But also, like, nah, it sucks. I hate how much love it gets. Honestly, that's what makes me mad.
yeah, and I know how much I give it. So you're just like, shut the
When
fuck
people
up, Steve.
ignore American Werewolf in London so much, and I have to hear about the fucking Howling all the time, I'm
Oh,
like,
wow.
God, dude.
Well, let's jump on to the next one. Yeah, we're just barely going to talk about it, but it's George Romero's Night Riders, another favorite of Derek's. Derek, you can go spit shit on this movie all you want, and I'll tell people why it's amazing.
Well, it's got carnies in it.
Yeah,
except they're medieval carnies.
It's because you're fucking dorks and you're like, oh, they made a LARPing movie for me.
You goddamn right, I'm a D&D nerd, baby.
It's LARPing with Ken Foray, Tom Savini, and Ed Harris.
Yeah, great cast.
Yeah,
Ed Harris is just like very like Death Wish though. It's just funny if you watch it like if that was a LARP, they'd never let him do that shit. They're like ride on a motorcycle as fast as you fucking can, and it's okay. You can hit him with this mace that you made.
Well, originally
they're punk rockers living outside the fucking system, and they live off the land. They're off the grid. They're like crust punks in shining armor is what I call them on motorcycles. It's great. The only thing they don't do is make their own gas.
I feel like Night Riders starts off strong. It really does with like the opening scene and the battle and Tom Savini's mace.
Yeah.
When he's like, that is way too hard to hit someone with, and Savini's like, are you a pussy? I would take it. Like, and I'm like, oh, that's how Tom Savini is in real life. So that makes total sense.
They did a lot of people get hurt on this movie.
But then the fact that they were like, let's make it 2.5 hours long, and it's just like, fuck.
Yeah, I can agree with that. The movie was a little.
It doesn't need to be 2.5 hours long.
I've got the VHS right here.
Read the back of that
like
piece
a
of
fucking
shit.
novel on the back of that thing.
Yeah, it's as long as the movie.
Gary Lottie, Tom Savini, directed by George Romero. The games, the romance,
Gary
the
Lottie
spirit,
the cute
Camelot
one?
is a state of mind. Shut up. Night Riders is the story of a trope of motorcyclists who are members of a traveling Renaissance fair. Yeah, whatever. They're LARPers, whatever. The thing is...
the back of the movie says LARPer. They didn't invent the LARPer.
No, I added that. But I love that film. You definitely, if you're a Romero fan, you're going to see everybody who's ever been in his movies.
That's true.
In that film, in one way or another, it's fantastic, and it's really about what his spirit of how he thinks and all his films are about. So it's not a horror film, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on it. But
you should watch. You should watch it once for sure, just because of the actors and the person that made it. And to me, if it was an 1.5-hour movie and they kept the pace that we get at the beginning, I would have loved it. It just goes that middle segment.
Well, it gets really political because you've got the cops involved.
Yeah.
You got Savini selling out, him taking his nights, and then you've got Ed Harris and his nights are staying true to form. We're really getting into this movie.
I feel like they sat around that fire for an hour.
If you have a punk rock bone in your body, you're going to love this film. I have Nighthawks on there. It came out the same month. It's day. The Howling, Night Riders, and Nighthawks all came out. Nighthawks is not a horror film. It's definitely an exploitation movie with Sylvester Stallone and fucking Billy D. Williams and freaking Roy Batty, who is fucking Rutger Hauer. It's a great film. I wanted to put it on the list at least to tell people if you have not seen the movie Nighthawks, it's not Rambo. He's not oily up. It's a really serious kind of crime exploitation film. It's really, really graphic.
Do a double feature with Night Riders. You can take up your whole fucking day.
God damn it. Check out Night Riders if you can. Let's move on to Cannibal Fairhawks, also known as Make Them Die Slowly.
I just got in one note. It says animal torture and then a sad face.
Yes.
Fuck that movie.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of a thing we do in horror. If it has cannibal in it, you got to fuck up everything, right? You got to be cool.
Yeah. Well, Giovanni Radis, who we've talked about on this podcast before, he changed his name to John Morgan. I don't know if it was because of this movie or what, but maybe just Americanize it. I don't know, for American audience to get more jobs. But he came out against this film after he made it. I mean, this is another one of those films, cannibal films, where there is animal torture. It's fucking not fun to watch.
And it's real animal torture.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, you get the VHS, Make Them Die Slowly.
Yeah, that was the title, especially in America.
And then, of course, you get the usual banned in 31 countries. And, because you do a bunch of dumb shit. Warning, due to its shocking and violent subject matter, no one under 17 should view this film. I like the idea that, once you're 18, it's time to watch some shit like this. It's not a good movie. I mean, it's trash film.
But I mean, if you have kids today with the internet, they've seen way worse.
Oh no,
so it doesn't matter.
And if you're,
it's hard. I don't like watching any animal get hurt, tortured, or anything, even if it has a message.
I think it's entertainment for teenagers, is what that is. It's like
really,
yeah, because you don't have a soul when you're a child. I watched so much shit like that when I was a kid. You were looking up traces of death and faces of death and all that shit. I just don't think it's a real thing. I don't think people give a fuck when they're young.
Yeah,
but I think you want to see that. Let's kill shit.
Yeah,
just like Cannibal Holocaust was super talked about in school, or Rotten.com, or all the bullshit that people would go to and try to view the worst shit. Just when you're a teenager, because you don't think about it, you think you're immortal, so you don't even realize with life and death and shit. You don't
sort of
think
like Faces of Death. You watch that because you're like, oh, it's got some fucked up shit.
Yeah, it's got
that
some
I've
fucked
never
up
seen.
shit. Yeah,
or you're like me. I was homeless for a little bit while during my high school years, and I didn't give a fuck about anything. I was living off whatever I could, and you do some stupid things you would never do in normal life.
And some people never grow out about it.
I get that angle.
There's a market for snuff because there's some people never grow out of that teenage attitude because they're fucking assholes.
Right.
But eventually, most of us come around and go, "Hey, horror is great when it's not real."
Yeah.
But we don't want to see fucking animals die or just exploitation for the sake of exploitation. Like,
well, it has its audience, and this had its audience, and they just kept pushing these out. And it's one of those films where it's we've talked about it, where the title just keeps getting changed. I think we've even mixed it up a couple episodes ago, just mentioning cannibal films, and we're like, is this Make Them Die Slowly, or is this Cannibal Holocaust? Or there's so many, but Cannibal Holocaust and this are totally different.
Yeah.
But they have so many things, and the number one thing that most people remember is the animal death, and it's like, fuck.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just unnecessary.
I couldn't go back and rewatch it. I was just like, man, it's just I don't
Well,
watch
let's move on to something more fun. The Hand.
I'm so pissed I can't find this movie. I looked and looked
Oh.
because I was doing research. I was like, wait, Oliver Stone, Michael Caine, in
Yeah.
a movie where he's a comic artist whose hand is
I
killing
remember
people.
I watched it on like television as a kid. I think it's the one where he gets his hand cut off like
Yes.
through the window.
Something like that. I don't
I
know.
know it's like
I don't know.
I didn't get to fucking watch it.
It's an animated like fucking cousin, like not cousin. It's like a thing from the Addams Family, except it's like his hand trying to find him back, and then it shakes people's throats on the way.
Yeah, so it's actually a love story
It's a love story.
with the man in his hand.
Man. Well, that's the love story of the
That's
century.
the other Joe D'Amato movie they made that year, right?
Oh my god!
It is an Oliver Stone movie.
It's an Oliver Stone. That's what I was really weirded out
People
about.
forget Oliver Stone loved the genre. He loved exploitation film. The guy wrote Conan. He loves this kind of stuff. Not everyone knows him for him like his Oscar caliber films, but everyone starts somewhere.
I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I've ever seen Michael Caine in a horror film.
You don't remember Jaws: The Revenge?
Oh shit! I think I already blocked that one out.
Dressed to Kill.
The cover is just nothing
Dressed
will
to Kill is
prepare
amazing.
you for the hand.
Yeah.
Nothing will prepare you for it. Nothing prepared me because I didn't fucking watch it.
Special effects were done by Stan Winston.
Yeah.
Stan Winston.
Stan
does
Winston,
everything.
this was his year to actually break out. We'll actually touch on another movie that really fucking showcases his talents next episode. But right now, let's move on to, let's see, Bloody Birthday.
Bloody Birthday. I watched this one.
Okay, good. Hit it.
Oh man, so Bloody Birthday is a movie about three fucking kids that are all born on the same day.
They're born during an eclipse.
They're born
on the
during an
same
eclipse
day.
on the same day, and then 10 years later, they're fucking evil. And nothing about this movie fucking works. Like, so they, the first, the
I
first,
love this piece of shit.
Yeah, the first thing they do is there's two teenagers in the woods fucking, and then they get murdered. And you see little hands get them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so
So
What?
here,
Let's
before we go
give-
to
Derek has my VHS.
Before we
We're gonna
go,
do the back of the
I
box.
just went ahead and grabbed Steve's VHS. So first off, this tagline: "If the bad seed tore you to pieces, if Halloween was your worst nightmare, then Bloody Birthday is a fright above all." He's still got the nice little category sticker there.
Yeah.
And this has just like big words. The nightmare begins with the kids next door. This is one birthday invitation you can't refuse. And it's actually kind of like a fairly long breakdown, but we'll just go with the under the spell of a solar apocalypse eclipse. There are three women living in the same small town give birth simultaneously. The three children are angel-faced, the best of friends, and oh so innocent. But these little kids are the most lethal killers ever. And
This has the kid from Cujo and like Parker Lewis Can't Lose, right?
I don't know.
He has glasses.
I
I have
was-
not seen
the
this
kid
in a
with the
while.
gun.
So,
Yeah.
Possibly.
so
Yeah,
the-
that's him.
Yeah, it's probably him.
He's Cujo's original, like, oh, Cujo. He's like his original owner, like little boy.
It's kind of funny how this movie starts because they don't show you the kids on the first kill. For some reason, these teenagers decide to go fuck in like a grave, like literally like go 6 feet under, like this grave that's dug, and like, hey, let's go there. No one will see us fuck there.
Yeah.
And suddenly the dude's hit with like an object that's off screen, just hits him in the face, and he falls down. And the girl starts getting choked. And they hang her, but you later
it
find
like
out
a
it's from a
jump
jump rope
or something?
Yeah, they call it a skipping rope in the movie. And the next
That'd be
day, there's
fucking
like
different.
the sheriff's at the school going, "Does anybody missing a skipping rope?" Like talking to all these kids, and all these kids
Is
are
this a
sitting there
Canadian
like-
production?
I
It's-
don't
Okay,
know.
go ahead.
Probably.
I was thinking of the terminology.
It's
Carry
really
on.
weird because all these kids are like stone cold face, like looking at him. And you think, if you haven't seen this movie before, so we're spoiling all, like, it's the fun of it, but you think this is going to be another mystery, right? Like, who's the killer?
Very
Dude,
Jalo-like.
The next
Nope.
scene, they just murder the fuck out of the sheriff.
Yeah, this is how they do it. It's the little girl's dad.
And they're not even 10 years old yet.
they're
Keep in mind, they're not even 10 years old yet.
They're almost
They're
10.
almost 10.
They're like, hey, Dad, come outside. So they set a skateboard up on the steps.
Which he
thinking,
doesn't trip over.
It's
He
a
goes-
fucking
they-
Wile E.
yeah.
Coyote shit.
Like
No,
some
no,
fucking
he doesn't
Dennis
trip
the
over
Menace
it.
shit. He didn't trip over it. And then he's like, "What is it, honey?" And he goes over there, and the kids are just frustrated, so they just go fucking hit him with a bat and just beat him to death.
Yeah.
A fucking 9-year-old beats a grown-ass
sheriff
to
death.
death.
And it's funny because he's on his knees, like she has a rope, and he goes, "Where did you get that rope, honey?" And he bends down, and then the kid, and this kid does not look like a tough 9. He just looks 9.
Not a tough 9.
Like he swings the bat, and the sheriff goes fucking down instantly. Dude, I've played ball and like catch with my kid before. I've been hit in the head by a 9-year-old swinging a bat. It didn't knock me the fuck out. It sucked. It made me have to move my mouth in that funny way. Like,
This is a Sammy Sosa of kids.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they hit it.
He's got a Barry Bonds swing.
But these kids are so smart, right? Because they're like the fucking devil. They drag his body to the skateboard. And then she goes, "Mom, Daddy had an accident." And the mom doesn't come out and like thinks like, this doesn't make sense. Because the dude, all right, so the skateboard's leaning up the steps. The dude's laying up the steps upward. And he got hit in the back of the head. So the fall makes it look like he fell like he fell up the steps.
Yeah, she wouldn't make a good cop, but in that town she might have made a good cop. But I did make some notes. There's a scene where the kid takes the gun to school, and the teacher's just like he walks up behind her and he's got this fucking pistol.
And the teacher sucks, by the way.
And
This is the only thing I cheered for because this bitch was the worst teacher you would ever have.
But the teacher was literally like, "Don't bring that to school next. Take that home." And like she thinks it's a fake gun. But you did that today, man.
And also, on top of that, it made it weird because the scene before, like the last time you see this teacher, she's the strictest, like evilest motherfucker. She's like, "Everybody sit up straight in your seats." And then the bell rings and she's like, "That's just a signal for me to let you out. Doesn't mean I have to let you leave." And they're all just sitting there really still. And then the kids, who we don't know are murderers yet, are going, "Hey, can we not have homework on our birthday?" And she's like, "Your homework's more important than your birthday." So this hard ass teacher, 2 scenes later, when a kid pulls out a gun that she thinks is a replica, is just calm about it and goes, "Hey, don't bring that again." Like she would snatch that little motherfucker up instantly and just beat him with that gun.
It's not a Catholic school.
But
God damn.
Oh, come on. She's hitting a paddle on her hand when she's talking to the kids in the classroom. Like she would have beat the fuck out of him. But instead she goes, "That's just a replica gun." Which, by the way, the kid took his replica gun and he switches it out with the dead sheriff's fucking gun.
And nobody notices.
And nobody notices this because it looks exactly like a sheriff gun.
So you know, there's lots of kills. But one other thing, Julie Brown is in this.
Downtown Julie
Not
Brown?
Downtown
I'm
Julie
just
Brown.
joking.
The other one, the annoying
Cleavage
redhead
cam.
from Earth Girls Are Easy.
Yeah, that she had a show on MTV, and I always remember the cleavage cam.
She's the sister.
I was a little kid and I was a boy.
Well, she's the
peephole
sister,
girl.
the peephole girl, because the one girl lets her friends watch her sister undress for like
the kids
a quarter.
So this group of kids, it's two boys and one girl, and the little girl has Julie Brown as the sister.
And a dead father for a cop.
And a dead father at this point. And she's letting the little boys pay a quarter to look at the peephole at her sister change. These little boys.
Doesn't get it.
And then
never sees it.
And then like when her friend finds out about it, her friend just laughs, Julie Brown's friend, and then tells her, and they don't cover up the fucking peephole. She doesn't go like, "Oh yeah, little boys are looking there. I might as well cover that up." They just leave it for her to get murdered through it later on.
But that was a cool scene. That was a cool scene when she gets murdered, because spoiler, so they've got this bow and arrow. So the little demon girl sits there with the bow and arrow, and Julie Brown looks down in it and fucking arrow right through her head.
Yeah, it's
right
great.
through the people. It's a really cool scene. But these kids are
shitty.
They're cunning. They're very cunning.
They're cunning.
Children.
I mean, the one's like a science genius, and it's weird. I would like this movie more if something actually happened to the fucking kids. That's the one thing that bothered me about this is like 2 of them go to jail, which like getting arrested at 9, like they're gonna be out in like fucking 10 years.
Oh yeah,
and in the 80s, definitely. Yeah, 3 years.
And then
I burned down a video store that took me home.
Yeah, and then the little girl just gets
on accident. It was an accident.
She gets to live. She's relocated.
Despite people saying, "Hey, she's a fucking murderer. She's with them." The people that like these 2 boys get arrested for trying to kill. But the little girl gets to go away.
No. The mother takes her and she runs off because everybody in her family's fucking dead.
They changed her name.
And it's weird because she realizes like, hey, my kid's a piece of shit. And no, wait, she believes that it's just the 2 boys. That's right. So she's gonna take her last child that's still alive and run away. And then that last scene, they're at a truck stop or something like that.
She
She's
killed
like,
the trucker.
Hey, come on, we gotta get going. She's got dyed hair, and then it pans over, fucking trucker's dead under the truck.
Yeah, so the movie ends with the line like, "Who's gonna be a good girl from now on?" And she's like, "I'll be a good girl, mommy." And then like pans away, and there's the dead dude under the truck. But I don't think a lot of people have seen Blood Birthday. It's on fucking Tubi. watch it because it's weird. Like, it's a weird killer kid movie before like these movies really started happening all the time. And if they would have kept it like really creepy and like had a reveal, it would have been a lot better. It's just the fact that they second scene in the movie, they're like, oh, it's these 3 kids.
Yeah, like My Bloody Valentine has like you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and they make it such a mystery at first because like there's this eclipse happens when the movie starts, right? And you hear just all this like, you know, you hear all this babies being born. I don't know how to explain that.
It sounds like a jar of mayonnaise. To shove your fist in it, and that's what it sounds like.
Well, you just hear like all the talk through the hospital, right? Oh, there's a baby. Like, and then dads are like, I'm leaving you. I gotta go buy cigarettes or whatever. You just hear all that shit. But
Which you could do in the 80s, by the way.
But you know it's gonna have something to do with this opening scene. And then the murders happen in the graveyard. And then you have the sheriff talking to the kids. They could have just like not shown who killed the sheriff. Like have the sheriff walk outside and fucking ding him in the head with a baseball bat.
That'd have been weird. Yeah, but they sort of establishes like these kids suck. They're awful. I think I like it better that way because it creates tension later.
Yeah.
As you watch the movie with the whole birthday party and
that little
possibly poisoning the cake.
I just want to fight those kids the whole time. I was just like, I want to fight fucking kids. I hate kids so much. Get by with all this bullshit. Like I can't fucking flick a motherfucker. I go to jail. But this little kid's pointing guns and shit. He's talking, dude. If that kid would talk shit to me like that. Ooh, boy.
there are a couple kids in these 80s movies that I really want to punch. We'll get to one later.
No. Let's talk about one right now. We're going to go right to the Beyond.
Oh, the Beyond.
Fucking Bob.
Baby.
No, Bob wasn't the Beyond.
Bob
was.
Oh, that was House by the Cemetery.
House by the Cemetery. We'll get to that eventually.
Well, because they're thinking of like all those people are like they're linked in these films, these Fulci films. It's like you have Bob, you have Ketro McCall. They're God, I hate all these fucking kids. The girl in this one who gets her fucking head blown off is beautiful.
Yeah, she's beautiful.
This one doesn't.
It's fucking beautiful because that fucking girl annoys the shit out of me, and it's more because of the dubbing that they do.
And there's no
hi. It's like no, bye. Get the fuck out of here. The Beyond came out in April 29th.
Yeah. And these are very vague. So like Italian movies, they don't really like to do the whole like taglines and a lot on the boxes and shit. But essentially what you have here is a Fulci movie. Or Fulci, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is a movie that he was quoted as saying that he wanted to just make a nightmare, and if you could figure it out, then you could figure it out.
It's considered...
But that's something he said, I think, towards the end of his career, he was kind of like old and crabby and didn't give a fuck because he was getting interviewed. He like died in 94. His interview came out in like 92 that I read, and he just was like, it's a vision. If you don't understand it, it's your problem.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I like Fulci, but God, he's a crabby old bastard.
The genre is Southern Gothic, supernatural horror.
Lovecraft.
And then this is the quickest rundown of it. It's not going to make any sense. So if you hear me read this off and you go watch the movie, you're like, I don't think that's what happened in the movie I watched.
Bob's not in this movie.
Its plot follows a woman who inherits a hotel in Louisiana. Yeah, because they know what Louisiana looks like.
It's the second installment as well, too.
That was once the site of a horrific murder, and which may be a gateway to hell. It's the second film in Fulci's Gates of Hell, which isn't a real thing.
No.
Like, it's not a real trilogy. They just made that shit up, but it's still cool.
Yeah, these are the ones I'm talking about. They're slightly connected. It's like the Gates of Hell, also in the City of the Living Dead, the Beyond, and then House by the Cemetery with Bob.
Which
fucking Bob.
Two Fulci movies that came out.
And a lot of
we'll hit House by the Cemetery in episode 2 of this.
Yes. A lot of these movies in like the early 2000s would come on those Walmart like 20 horror movies on 3 DVD sets.
Oh yeah.
But they'd be under like different names and shit, like things. I'm like, what the fuck? Because there's some of these movies I would watch, like Fulci and shit, that I didn't know that I already saw it because it's under a different name.
Yeah.
Because it's in these shitty Walmart sets, but that's fun.
This is one of my favorites.
Is it?
Oh yeah.
You didn't even know what was happening.
No,
it was a different movie.
Because I was ready to go to House by the Cemetery, but this one.
I said something about shitty kids, and he got.
It's fucking sparked that goddamn voice from Bob. Oh, which is funny. We're going to talk about Hell Night. I guess episode 2, but the beginning of this movie opens with the exact same scream that they use in Hell Night as those screamers on the walls. If you've ever seen Hell Night, you know what I'm talking about. It's the first fucking noise that you hear. It's like, ah, it's awful. And it goes back in time and it shows the.
I don't want to talk about Hell Night till we have to.
No, I know.
Let's leave Linda Blair for some other time.
Blair, everybody. But the Beyond, you're right. It's the best thing about it is it's how visionary it is.
Yeah.
To put it all together and like try to make sense, like you made more sense than most people do.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. Most of Fulci and Argento doesn't make sense.
Just think about the scene where the guy's trying to get the plans for the fucking house, and then he fucking falls off a ladder, and then tarantulas come out of fucking nowhere and just start eating him.
Yeah, this is the one.
That's
that has
a great scene.
What was the name of it on the Walmart disc? 7 Doors of Death. That's what it is.
That's one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you buy the Walmart set, it would say 7 Doors of Death, and that's what I knew it as forever.
That's the name of the hotel at the beginning of the film. that they're actually in.
Yeah.
It's a seven doors, I think.
That scene you mentioned was the one, like, when me and my friend rented it in high school, we just, like, rewatched it so many times.
It's so weird.
And we were, like, the horror dorks. So when you brought something like that on, most of the time I'd watch, whatever came out at the time. So you put in Final Destination or Butterfly Effect. Everyone,
Oh, God.
everyone in the room would fucking watch it with you. They're like, oh, Derek's watching horror shit again. But, hey, we know those guys. But then I'd always put on something like this eventually, like once every few weeks. And that's when you lose the room. Suddenly everyone's in their AOL chats and shit. Like, Derek's a fucking weird motherfucker. And then here I am doing a horror podcast.
That's
So-
great, though. This is not a fun movie. It's not one that
None of them
Fulci doesn't
are.
make like where you can just kick back and watch it and hang out.
Italians
with your
don't like fun.
buddies. Well, Fulci just likes to fuck with people's brains.
Did you hear Joe Bob's controversial statement?
Oh no! Besides the ones you make every week,
Which
what?
one?
That American movies are superior to the Italian movies.
Oh, is that controversial?
Absolutely, 100%.
Remember-
It's very controversial.
Yeah, he said it on what did they show? Him and Eli Roth. What did they show?
Oh, they showed House by the Cemetery.
Yeah,
and
they
Mother's
showed-
Day.
Oh,
They
nice.
showed
I
House by
forgot
the
about that.
Cemetery, and he was just like, "Hey, I hate to break it to you, but." And when you really compare them, the U.S. movies during that time were better, and it's people kind of flip the fuck out about it.
You have Italian aficionados when it comes to any kind of Italian cinema, anyways.
Yeah.
But especially the horror nerds who love Italian cinema. Do
they love it because
like
of
say
what it
anime
is?
or
Yeah.
Japanese films or Korean films?
I
Maybe we're putting more into it because we don't have to worry about how they're saying it, or maybe the acting's bad. We actually don't know because it's dubbed. I don't know. Sorry, Dave.
I do think like trying to show it to a larger audience, though, American horror is easier to digest.
I don't know. I think it's just more visual.
I mean, who could you show the Beyond to? Could you fucking? I mean, come on. Let's look at the American movies. Like, okay, what do we have back to back there? Friday the 13th Part 2 and the Beyond.
Somebody would say that Friday the 13th Part 2 is a popcorn film compared to something that's deeper, has more levels.
Not a normal
And it's a
human,
better-
though. A
yeah,
horror nerd
insane.
will. A horror nerd
I
will
agree
say
with
that.
both. I like both. I like popcorn crap. Friday the 13th Part 2 can be considered a popcorn horror film. Top 40 is what I call
I
it.
really think
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
mean, it's
Italian
Friday the 13th. It's the king of
with
top
these
40.
Italian films though. There's a lot of eyeball stuff. People don't like eyeball stuff, Steve.
Well, they were not.
That's true.
They're
That
not
makes
trying to appeal to us as much as people say, like, oh, trying to get a mass audience. They are, but they're still very visceral. They're still more like, let's get him in the gut.
Yeah, there's a lot
This is
more
what
gore.
sold. This is what sells, and it does.
I think they're just going for the nerds. I think they're going for the hardcore crowd, the horror nerds. I don't think
know.
they. I don't
Did
think
they
they.
exist at that time.
Sure they
Yes,
did.
yes. I don't think at any point you're making the Beyond thinking you're going to release it in the U.S. and make millions of dollars.
It's going to get released in like a grindhouse. It's not going to be maybe a drive-in or something
But
like
I think
that.
they're
is
but
that
it's
the
gonna be-
nature of distribution at the time, or is it because they're not getting the respect that they deserve? I'm going to go with both.
Possibly both.
Okay, just because it's an
I don't
Italian
think you
film, it
can-
might be badly dubbed, especially back then. Now we get to
It's
see
not
it
that.
anamorphic. We get to see it all how it's
Yeah, I
supposed
mean,
to look.
I love these movies, but I don't think there's any. I don't know if it's a respect they deserve thing either, because they're just not made for millions of people.
Yeah.
Certain
I
movies
could
aren't
say-
made for that. It's just like music too. There's tons of like great fucking music that like my music nerd friends love.
Yeah.
That I don't really easily digest because I'm not that big of a music nerd. But I get it. I'm like, oh man, this shit is fundamentally sound. But it's just not my thing. And you can explain it to me all day of how complicated this fucking bass shit is, guitar shit. And I'm
Right.
like, that's cool, but I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Well-
and I think that's what happens with these horror movies a lot of times. Us as like nerds, we can explain them our way and what we're seeing in them, and we're jizzing our pants over special effects or eyeball torture or fucking cats getting thrown because it's an Italian movie. But the average person's just like, well, I just want to eat popcorn and watch slasher and watch these popcorn movies. So
Yeah.
I think they do get the respect they deserve from the audience that respects that type of shit.
But they're also being released now on Blu-ray.
Yeah,
With
which is
all
pretty
the
cool.
things put back in. The music is put back in. The voices you get to
Yeah.
change channel you want to listen to. You get to see it in high def.
I mean,
And now people are like, my God, these things are beautiful.
how many other genres have
You're not
like
going to get that from Friday the 13th Part 7. I love Part 7. It's a great
get it.
film. John Carl Bigelow, but it's not a well-plotted movie. It is what it is.
It's not a
But
well
if you want
plotted
to take-
movie.
We'll get to those eventually.
Yeah. I think
No,
it's a great
I'm
debate.
mad. I
And-
am mad now.
Okay,
I
Friday
am
the 13th
mad.
Part 2 is next.
Potato sack head Jason.
Yes, it is.
Get your
greatest.
eyeballs out of here.
Steve Miner did a hell of a job making these next two films, I think, look really, really good. We always joke about Sackhead Jason. How would you get on a bus to fucking find Adrienne King at her apartment? We've touched on this one before, so I don't know how long we want to dwell upon
Well, we
it.
don't have to dwell upon this one too long. And this is, I'm trying to get away from saying this on our podcast, but this is definitely one where we're going to cover a fucking franchise anyway. But I think part 2 tends to be like, for the hardcore fans, one of the favorites of the bunch.
I do love that one.
It's supposed
really
to take place
sets
5
the
years
pace.
after the first one, which actually I won't say like the next year.
Yeah.
Jason's full grown. He's like 32 years
'Cause
old.
right
the
here-
timeline is correct.
We start the loop here where it's like 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all like back-to-back days, right?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So it's like, because it's like next day, and it
Jason's
really
a little
starts
bit older.
to lose
He wakes
its
up,
way.
He dresses like my dad. Except the sack on his
And
head.
this one, okay. He dresses like a lot of our fathers at the time.
This was the first time, and it's probably the first
Warrington
time.
Gillette and Stephen Dash.
Probably
I'll
the-
give them both credit, goddammit.
Not the first time it's happened in a movie, but for me, it was the first time witnessing it. Was the cat jump scare, which is everywhere now, you know, forever. And after that, and probably before it, but for me as a kid, Friday the 13th Part 2 was the first time I ever was like, oh, the cat got me. That
He
time.
definitely didn't watch enough Italian films.
Well, I mean, I was
So many
fucking, like,
movies, including
bit.
Italian films, ripped off Carrie's, including the very first of this series, and this one does as well.
Hey, maybe you guys can educate me on this real quick. I know
Doubt
the Prowler's next. Well, yeah, I should wait, but we're talking
go
about
ahead.
things. It's fine. The Prowler's still in 81. We'll get to it on our next episode. So the Prowler opens with the scene of like the people are fucking and they both get impaled on the pitchfork.
They're
right?
very similar.
Is that the first time that was done, or did Jason do it first?
If you're talking about
Who did it first? The
the
impaling?
pitchfork?
No, I don't care what's going through their
Or the
body.
spear?
A couple fucking having sex.
That was an
That's
Italian
what
film, Twitch of the Death Nerve. It's like the first. He redid it. Steve Miner redid that scene in Friday the 13th Part 2. Some people say he ripped it off. Some people say, oh, he didn't know. It's the exact same.
So Part
scene.
2 has
It's
that
a spear
scene. Part
through
2 has
two
the
bodies
spear?
and a bed. Even the shot of the
Shit.
edit.
I didn't know
is
2 had the
same.
spear. So either way, it was done before the Prowler.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
He didn't. Yeah. He uses the. But the funny thing is, there's another film on our list, and it's The Burning. There's an exact same scene from this film. It's in the fucking Burning with a girl under a bed. He's with a pitchfork. He's as a rat. There's everything. It's everything.
Yeah. So many of these movies kind of connect together, and you can accidentally steal ideas. I mean, and Eli Roth talked about that on the Joe Bob thing about how there's things he does in movies. When they were watching Mother's Day, he literally came back and he's like, "Oh my god, I just realized I stole that." Like there's something that happens in Mother's Day, and he's like, "I completely stole this scene from Mother's Day from a movie."
That's a normal thing that artists do, whether they want to realize
It's
it
in
or
your
not.
head, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of times you forget.
You're
you know?
influenced.
Yeah, there's shit that I will write and I'll think about and I go, "Did I hear that from someone, or is it just?"
Well, I mean,
there?
the same thing with music. Like, I'll start writing something, and then I'll start playing it for somebody else.
Next
and
thing
then,
you know,
like,
you're
that
playing-
sounds a little
That's
bit like
Metallica's
and I'm like,
Unforgiven.
Cannibal Corpse,
I'm like,
Dave.
wait, let's slow it down a little bit. Like, oh yeah, I hear it now.
Yeah, that's also
Yeah.
Metallica's
Well,
Unforgiven.
when I'm making my shirts and stuff, it's the same thing. I'm like, I'll have to Google, like, did somebody else come up with this fucking thing? Boom, yeah, they did.
It's weird, man. It's hard. I mean, it's hard as an artist to get something that's totally original, especially now in 20. You know, the year it is now is like the year it is now because I can't remember what fucking year it is.
2021.
You know, the year it is currently. No, but it's hard to come up with something completely original. It happens in pro wrestling all the time too. You'll see a great like 30-minute match, and people will go online and go, "Well, I've seen this before." I'm like, because there's so much content in the last 100 years, motherfucker. It's hard to do something that's totally brand new. It's just you're trying to innovate on something that's already existed.
Right.
Unfortunately, sometimes with movies, you do just fucking copy.
It was easier
on
to
accident.
surprise people when the life expectancy was like 30.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was. Well, and also when they couldn't Google every fucking thing,
Exactly.
you didn't have everything at your fingertips to go. Like, if a pitchfork, that scene happens in a movie now, you go, impaled deaths in movies. You're like, oh, well, they stole it.
I mean, there's a
He didn't
website for
steal-
that.
I thought that maybe that like we're kind of jumping around towards the end of this episode. It's fine, but when the Prowler, which is not going to be on this episode, but like you've got Friday the 13th. I was like, did Tom Savini steal that scene?
Yeah.
From a movie that he didn't get to do the special effects on purpose, but it was released later. All these things go through your head. I'm like, did you rip it off on purpose? Did Steve Miner rip off the spear scene from Twitch of the Death Nerve?
You know what the brilliance
You
of
don't know. That's a Bava film. It's great.
Friday the 13th Part 2 is brilliant in 81 because it's the only movie in 81 where teenagers get killed without having to go to school.
You're just letting they're just letting them know that you're not safe anywhere.
Yeah, they're like, oh, you
Amy
think
Steele.
it's summertime, motherfucker? What's up? Jason Voorhees is here.
This is, as far as this franchise is concerned, it's kind of the top when it comes to acting. Amy Steele is fucking great.
Amy Steele's great, and there's
She's great in
always
everything she does. Anyways, April Fool's Day. She's done other horror films that we all like, but
I've always loved
this
the
is the one.
debate.
She's fucking great. Everybody in this movie, I like. I like all of the characters.
Yeah, the debate
Even
was
the
always
annoying
fun
assholes.
with people, always argue whether or not that dude lives at the end. Amy Steele's like sidekick guy that gets, I think he gets like thrown through the fucking window, right?
Now, according to the when they wrote it, they said that they were just as an homage to the first one, which is also a ripoff of Carrie. So no, he's dead supposedly.
Yeah. Well,
like the same thing with Adrian King. Like none of that stuff happened. Jason didn't jump out of the water.
yeah, she just hallucinated.
She
it or whatever.
hallucinated,
and
but-
then she was killed.
Right, because it doesn't make sense. Because everyone wants to argue that. Well, if that's true, then what did he do? Age 20 years and by 5 years? It
Yeah.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's her. Remember her hearing the story. They hear the story at the beginning of this film because it has that iconic campfire scene that we all know. I'm gonna give it to you straight about Jason. That whole scene's beautiful.
No, it's awesome. And yeah, that is the first time Jason Voorhees is on screen because at the end of the first one, it's a dream sequence. So there's not a real Jason in that movie.
No,
so the first
definitely not real.
the first Jason's the one from the second one. So someone should change their fucking band name.
Yo, get him.
So we'll
And
just
also
go.
quit sending dick pics, you
Yeah,
piece
probably
of
should
shit.
stop doing that. So the next movie, speaking of going back to school,
We'll just touch on it.
Graduation. Day.
Graduation Day.
Now, this is the track team, right?
Yes, it is.
Do they graduate in this movie? Because I thought it was just...
They didn't make it to graduation day, Derek.
They couldn't run fast enough, motherfucker. What are you on the track team for?
They were the worst track team ever.
Yeah, this one actually did really well at the theater. Most people will always remember it now.
Do they? Because
They remember it now because of Lennon Quigley.
I haven't watched it in forever, but I thought I made a note about it once you posted it. Because
find
stars Linnea Quigley.
Everyone
Killer
remembers
Kills
that.
High School track team.
Right.
Boyfriend. Oh yeah, the boyfriend when he's pissing in the woods and gets decapitated. I always thought that's cool.
Hold on. Vanna White was in this
Yeah, has
movie?
Yeah,
Vanna
but-
White,
oh, yeah,
Christopher
that-
George.
that's
If you
my-
like Italian films like I do. You know who Christopher George is.
Yeah, that's my last note. Is Vanna White's in this movie?
Vanna White. But this is everyone. Every time I mention this film, and I liked this as a kid, and they're like, "Oh, Linnea Quigley." I'm like, "Yeah." So as an adult, I went back and now, thank you to the internet, you realize that she barely got this role. She just got it on because the woman who's actually in the film, they just kind of edited her scenes out a little bit. She just didn't want to have her boobs seen.
When
And
she-
Linnea was like, "Fuck, I'll do it."
That's not her when she dies.
No, it's not.
Like the corpse at the
end?
end. That's not
Yeah.
Linnea's body at all. It's like blatantly someone
That's
else.
the original person who was
Yeah.
cast. Yeah, good one.
It's just there's irony in that because it's like, oh no, you're dead to us, and now you're going to use your corpse in this movie though.
This is just a garden variety stalk and slash film. It actually did. It blew up. I think it made like $20-something million off like.
$250,000.
Okay, yeah, you got the
budget.
notes over there. Yeah, that's fucking awesome for a
really
movie.
good.
They had to go around apparently to the theaters to make sure they were just going to show the trailer to get the ads out.
What year? So Halloween was 78, right?
Yeah,
78.
The original
so,
Halloween,
So
yeah.
we're 3 years from it, and we're going like just all in on graduation day and birthdays.
this is the year of the
and-
slasher.
Well, this
Oh
is
my
this,
gosh,
This is
dude.
one where they're having to pick up the slack. They're like, well,
Valentine's.
Halloween's already taken. What else can we take?
Well, they hit
Birthdays,
graduation
we can
day,
take
Valentine's.
graduations. You know what else can we? You know,
This wasn't originally. I don't think it was originally called Graduation Day. I think it was called something else, and they were like, "Well, let's just cash in on that too."
Yeah.
Smart marketing.
yeah.
Oh no,
That's fine.
it is smart marketing. It's just and if you look at the history of '81 so far, it's tons of like teen slasher flicks that happen at like proms and dances and
Yeah.
shit like that. And
And
we
we're
haven't
into
even got
May.
to the second half.
We're
so
into
we're only
May.
in May.
Yeah.
We're into May, and something that I found, I lost, by the way, you all don't know, but you all know, but the audience, I lost all my notes. But I remember one of the things I made a note of is that by the time May comes around, the critics were actually taking a stance against slasher films. They would no longer critique. They didn't want to give them press. They didn't want to have ads in newspapers. So to try to stop them from being seen, so they would stop being made. That's fucked up censorship at another level where the critics get together. They think they're so fucking high and mighty that they're going to stop and they're not going to critique your film. They're not going to go review it so it doesn't get any kind of press. And this movie said, fuck you, and made $2 million on $200,000. Is that
So
what, Dave?
yeah, it was $20 million on $250,000.
Yeah.
So what
So
you're saying?
fuck you,
So what you're
man.
saying
That's
is
awesome.
The critics made cancel culture.
Yeah, this
Right?
tag-
I didn't even think about that, but you're right. I mean, that's fucked up.
this tagline sucks. There are 200 seniors at Midvale High and 7 days till graduation. Graduation day. The class of '81 is running out of time. Like the fuck? Come on.
Oh man. So can we get to the next one? I really want to talk about
Talk
this.
about The Burning.
The Burning, the movie that just doesn't fuck around.
and,
This,
and we're not referring
by
to
the
like
way,
the sensation you have after you bang a
Before we
hooker.
get into this is the opposite. It made no money. This movie was a massive bomb.
Well,
And we all love it because we all know who made it.
yeah, let Dave go on about it.
Yeah, Dave, hit us.
so this movie. So I just want to talk about the movie itself. Like,
That's great.
the movie starts out you
Based
get-
on Cropsey, the
Cropsey.
this is the second movie during this year that was based on Cropsey. The other one had to change its name. Go ahead.
Tom Savini did the special effects. You get You get what was the guy's profession? Wait, it's a prank gone wrong. He gets burned. He's like the caretaker, right?
Yeah, it's Cropsy.
And then
he's just Cropsy.
Yeah. And then
what do you do, Cropsy?
He's just Cropsy. And the funniest thing about it is this movie's not a mystery. Like he goes to a hospital, a sane asylum, and then 5 years later he gets out and he's like, all right, take me to fucking Home Depot. I got to get some murder weapons.
Right, and he just wears a trench coat and a hat.
Yeah,
he's not trying to hide too much.
He just starts fucking murdering people like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Commando. Like when he goes into the shed, he's just like
comes out with the saw blades.
Yeah,
and shit.
Need some hedge trimmers. Just fuck you, and it just. That's what I love about this movie. It's just right off the bat. No mystery. I'm just gonna murder a bunch of kids.
With very weird cover. The cover looks like a romantic novel, but with a dude with shears in the back.
Find that. Yeah,
it's very weird. And of course we have the tagline: "A legend of terror is no campfire story anymore. The burning, it will take you further than fear." Whatever that means.
Music by Rick Wakeman. It was edited by Jack Shoulder. I'm trying to remember my notes. Jack Shoulder, who actually directed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Harvey Weinstein, and Bob. I think Bob Weinstein actually helped write it. They really tried to push this film. And no, nobody went and saw it.
Nobody went and saw it. Directed by Tom Malin, Split Second.
Oh, that's right. That's a fucking great movie. If you've not seen Split Second, it's got Rutger Hauer in it. It's kind of like a slasher sci-fi horror movie set in the future of England, where the whole city is going underwater slowly. And apparently nobody moves. They just stay in the city.
I feel like something's happened recently because that's getting a lot of press.
You got a Blu-ray release.
Is that what it was?
Whenever something gets an official release, everyone is like, I've been a fan forever, which is great. It's cool.
It's getting recognized finally, which is really cool because last time I even watched Split Second was at your bar.
Yeah.
Gore Club, you showed it pre-pandemic and shit. And I remember watching with friends and people were like, what the fuck is this? And I'm like,
it's violent as fuck.
It's violent, it's over the top, and it's actually a good fucking movie.
But Kim Cattrall is in that film.
Yeah.
But I forgot that Tony directed that.
Yeah. But that was in the 90s. So we're not talk about that.
If you haven't seen Split Second, you should go find it. Now you can actually find it now. Happy Birthday to Me? Or you want to stay on the burning?
No, we can talk about Happy Birthday to Me. I have actually never seen this film.
You've never seen fucking Happy Birthday to Me?
I've never seen it. I've never been able to
Did you watch it?
I've tried to find it. I couldn't find it on anything.
Everyone knows about this shish kebab.
I've seen the fucking cover. I've wanted to watch it, but I've never watched it.
Which they were smart because they do, the guy on the front of the movie poster in every VHS copy, they've never really changed the artwork.
No,
it's
always
not the same guy in the movie
Yeah,
that gets done to. But he's characters in the movie.
It's not the same shish kebab either.
Right.
But you can
I
tell
thought that was smart marketing, though.
You can tell who he's supposed to look like, though. I mean, when they get to the scene, anyway. If you've seen the cover and they get to the scene, you know, oh yeah, this is definitely the guy.
That guy's been in a lot of movies.
This movie's a weird one. This is another dance thing. Things didn't work out. In this case, it was this girl wanted to go to her friend's birthday party. Things didn't work out. A crash happened. Her mom dies. Flash forward whatever many years. And then Johnny Lawrence, the dude looks like fucking Johnny Lawrence, does that fucking jump with his car. That's the craziest fucking scene to me because I'm like, your car would fucking explode. He gets these girls in the car and he's like, oh, it's time to play chicken. We're going to play chicken.
Nah.
And they drive up the fucking bridge while it's spread apart. And he jumps it. And then the girl's like, get me the fuck out. And she just hops the fuck out. And then all the kills start happening from there because you assume it triggered something in her from the time she wrecked or whatever.
Memories.
So that's definitely they
she
make
wakes
it out
up,
to
she's
be.
amnesiac. She's amnesic.
Amnesic?
Amnesiac? Is that
don't look at me.
Sounds
I've never
like
seen
a horror
this movie.
film.
I don't know. It says right here it's filmed in
I'm
Canada.
looking at you, Dave, because you're sitting right here.
Thanks.
This is actually a movie filled with red herrings, and I think they did it really well. Because I'm always like, it's that motherfucker. It's that motherfucker.
The ending to this movie is fucking gold. I mean, it's just the most unexpected fucking weird thing. But there's a lot of cool scenes in it. There's the motorcycle scarf scene happens, which Pet Sematary too. Going back to stealing things, uses that same fucking scene, dude. It's shot for shot, the same fucking scene. Picking the motorcycle up, revving it, and then the fucking scarf going into it for the death scene. There's a really shitty, weightlifting kill. So this dude's
kill.
Well,
I've seen it in other movies, but this is the first time I've seen it, and I thought I knew it was going to happen when it happened. I was like, oh, I was wrong.
Yeah, so
they did it right.
So it's just kind of awkward how it works though, because you could roll that off.
Yeah.
So he's bench
It's
pressing.
not even a lot of weight.
And once again, they do the red herring shit because this guy knows who's walked in the room, right? He's like, oh, you're here, help me out. So he's got the person putting more weight on as he's benching. But then they end up adding extra weight to fuck him over. So when he pulls it up, it just drops on him.
It's originally 40 pounds.
Yeah. And he's like, oh,
I'm not
help
kidding.
me, help me. And it's this bench is tiny. He could have either just leaned because I don't even think they show her clip it or he could just leaned or just rolled it off of him and hurt his dick, you know. And he decides
hurt his dick, he would have probably been alive.
He decides to die. So it's just really weird. And
that was his choice.
And you think so? The whole idea, though, is what they make you think is that this girl's going around because she lost her mom on the way to her friend's birthday party. So you think she's killing everybody.
Her mom's insane.
Yeah. She is a bit crazy.
You know, that happens a lot in these movies.
Yeah.
Her mom,
it's a theme in the 80s.
So you get these flashback scenes, and essentially what happens is she's hanging with the cool kids now, right?
She's
the kids whose
remembering.
birthday. But she's having these flashbacks, and her last flashback is her mom's getting drunk, like pouring like just fucking cups of vodka, and she's like, "Why are you home tonight?" And she's like, "I wasn't invited to the party." And her mom's like, "You're going to that party," and drunk as fuck, like puts her in the car. They speed to this party. They get to the gate, and the butler's just like, "No, bitch. Like, you're not invited. We have a gated community, so you don't even know the passcode. So get the fuck out of here." And then they wreck the fucking... Mommy wrecks the car because mommy's drinking a lot of fucking vodka. And so your mom was going to die anyway, eventually, because that's a lot of... Dude, she's like coffee mugs
it's bad.
of vodka. And just like, "Yeah, party. I go
It's
to
a
all
Nightmare
the
on Elm
parties."
Street. Fucking Nancy's mom vodka. It's
But-
fucking on.
But this is genuinely like a good fucking slasher. The special effects are good, and the special effects that they say the students can do is a little fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because they go in that Alfred kid's room, right?
That Alfred kid looks like friggin' Peter Jackson from Bad Taste. He looks just like him.
And he's the one. So he's.
I'm not kidding, Dave.
Yeah, he's the first of like 6 red herrings in this fucking movie. They go in, and he has like a decapitated head on the table
Of her
that
best
looks
friend,
like their
yeah.
dead friend. But it turns out he just made this sculpt that looks just like her. And it's,
That's not that's a red flag.
These kids are like in their senior year of high school.
If you
so
walk
it's
into
crazy.
somebody's bedroom and they've got a replica head of one of your friends,
Yeah.
you leave the fuck.
But
you leave that
Or is it a
fucking room.
red herring?
I am not going
Yeah,
to.
you do get the fuck out.
I'm
Like,
not
oh,
going to
cool.
spoil Happy Birthday to Me. I will say this: just fucking watch it and you figure
Oh,
it out.
nice.
Because that's one that I wish people would watch, like without knowing
Because you
anything.
keep thinking you know
I'll
what's
tell you
going
what.
on.
You're not gonna
Before we
shit.
record the second part of this, I will go watch.
It's one of my favorite.
I will watch
slashers.
Happy Birthday to Me.
Give us
and,
your critique.
and I'll give you my critique on the next episode.
It's one of my
Sweet.
favorite. 81 had 2 of my favorite 80 slashers, which is The Prowler and Happy Birthday to Me.
Yeah, great.
So, but Happy Birthday to Me genuinely is one that I think its ending and how everything happens holds up. It doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense.
It's
but
kind of like popcorn where the person can make effects that they're just
Yeah.
way beyond their means.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
yeah.
not going to spoil it, but I'll just leave it there. It's like, come on.
Yeah, the special effects and shit in it that they're saying these kids can do is bananas. And it's funny because sometimes it's even better than the special effects that they actually do on the film itself.
I thought
But
the same thing.
It is what it is. Next we
I've
got
got-
Glenn or Glinda?
Okay, so I put Glenn or Glinda May 22nd.
I couldn't figure out why that was.
Okay,
on
I'm
the
going to
list.
explain this. It was a re-release to theaters, which is really weird for, this is Todd, I'm not Todd, I almost said Todd Browning. He would love that. Ed Wood's one of his first movies, if not his first movie, I think. And it just got buried in the 50s, of course. If you know anything about Ed Wood, you should just watch Tim Burton's Ed Wood. You'll kind of get the whole gist
Yeah,
of his career. I needed to put it up there and just to at least acknowledge, like, wow, somebody decided to put that movie in theaters on a wide release. And I thought that was really cool. It's also the year that Polyester came out, which you probably can't understand my handwriting now or read it. I've got Outland.
Isn't it the one with Sean
Poly-
Connery?
Yes, Outland is a great like Western sci-fi movie. We're not really going to talk about it because it's not horror, but I definitely say go check that movie out. But I had to put Glenn or Glinda, Polyester, and then The Nesting. Nesting didn't really I couldn't find a date on that. But those 3 movies all kind of closed out May, and then we can kind of just slide into June and July because not a whole lot of releases happened before our next episode.
Well, you don't get a lot of horror in the summer. That's
Summertime,
first
you don't wanna-
They
quarter,
tried it
last
with
quarter.
The Thing, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, the summer in June, they kick off with Let's Kill Kids Again. Final exam.
Final exam. And a lot of people give this a lot of props, and then so many people are like, "Are you fucking kidding?" I think it has more to do with the print that they found that people see now on Blu-ray, and it looks awful.
I tried to watch it. It was pretty bad.
It's a really bad copy.
It's really bad.
I do like the rhyme. I do like the final exam. Some may pass the test. God help the rest.
Dun, dun, dun. It's just a dude with a knife on the cover, just a silhouette. It
Very
looks like a Scooby-Doo
basic.
villain.
I think it's more of a tribute, possibly to the first Friday, the Friday
Yeah.
13th posters.
It's
But
definitely a
actually, I guess it would be before that though. So maybe the Friday 13th poster.
No, the first Friday the 13th
Had that one,
They
yeah,
did
had
all the
that. They did
silhouettes
a silhouette,
until part
yeah.
4, and then that's when they did the mask.
Got it,
With
okay.
the knife going through with
Yeah.
the blood.
Yeah, it's a psycho killer shows up on a college campus
No
to
way.
slash up pretty co-eds and dumb jocks. So like every stereotype instantly right there.
Just dead.
But I mean, I get it. Final exam, basic title, basic premise. That doesn't make a shitty movie necessarily. A lot of people probably saw it at some point in their lives, and it's their chosen one.
Yeah, it was actually called Video Nasty, which I thought was kind of weird because I didn't think the effects were that extreme. But I think they were just
Wasn't a part of the Video Nasties.
Yeah, they just kind of put it in there, like the Satanic Panic, like, oh, this is a bad movie.
Well, Happy Birthday to Me was one of those, too.
Oh, yeah, so many on our list.
We don't have Nightmare on there. I mentioned that earlier.
Oh, yeah, I forgot when was that released?
Nightmare was 81.
Yeah, but what did you month? Kind of we're going by month.
I don't know.
but
Keep
fuck it, we can
talking.
skip.
I'll find it.
If you want to talk about Nightmare, you do it, Derek.
Well, no, it's a piece of shit, but it exists. I mean, the thing is, it's like.
But I love these pieces of shit.
Do you like Nightmare though? Because it's like
No.
the point of view of the killer.
I saw that
it's-
movie because I like the box. The
Yeah.
hands coming out, and it's actually directed by one of the people that are on our list. And
If
since
you-
while my notes decided to go fuck you, Steve, as they usually
If you're
do.
super high on like the video nasty stuff and you genuinely like just seeing people murdered,
October 23rd.
it's
Okay.
October.
So, yeah.
So Nightmare. We'll save it for then.
Oh,
and We'll
nice.
talk
Yeah, we
about
will.
it. Maybe you guys can go back and watch it or something and fucking puke on yourselves.
Let's move on to July then. Fuck it. We've got Escape from New
Well,
York
we're at
and
the end.
Wolfen.
We can talk about Escape from New York a little bit.
Oh, we've got to.
Another-
It's not a horror film, but every horror film nerd knows it, loves it, or doesn't, but they should.
Oh, I love it. But
Yeah.
I'm kind of biased.
It's like the president's stuck in New York.
Donald Pleasance.
And most people would be like, eh.
The other Donald Pleasance role.
No, and then that makes 3 movies he did that year.
Yeah, that's right.
But you're introduced to Kurt Russell's Snake Plissken,
Call me Snake.
a very iconic character.
I know. I don't know how either.
It's easy. He's cool, man.
He's super cool, but it's not like he had like a ton of.
It's not like,
Like
but
there's
we-
not like a ton of things with that character.
no,
But
no.
it's not this like how we touched on the Sword and Sorcery episode that we did. You're not introducing a guy and you're making him a fucking rapist where like, how am I supposed to enjoy this or try to like side with this guy? He's genuinely a fucking like fuck you guy.
he's the anti.
He's a likable
He is a
anti-hero.
perfect anti-hero. And it's another Western kind of trope that John Wapner. Who the fuck is Judge Wapner? John Carpenter puts in his
John
films.
Carpenter. Yeah.
It's
So-
like the pre-nata. It's everything that John Carpenter loves to do, and he got to do it with this movie.
Yeah,
and
there's
it's
so
very
many-
ambitious for its budget.
Yeah, and released in 81, takes place in 1997. Tagline:
yeah.
New York City is a walled maximum security prison. Breaking out is impossible. Breaking in is insane.
And that's what he does.
Escape
He goes in
from
there
New
because he has to. He goes in there because they force him. Yeah. But I mean, it's got a good cast, man. Lee Van Cleef, Ernest Borgnine, Donald Pleasance, Isaac Hayes, Harry Dean Stanton,
I know. Love you, Derek. Love you, Derek. Love you, Harry Dean.
Adrian Barbeau, Tom Atkins. There's so many Charles
Yeah,
Cyphers. There's
so
so many
many.
good actors in this. And so many.
Yeah, but then Kurt Russell he owns it. He owns this movie.
Absolutely, he does. And
That
we won't.
character's so good.
Isaac
That
Hayes
kid-
is a fucking. He's the
Duke.
man, baby.
The
He's the
Duke.
Duke.
This movie was really good. The character was sort of ruined by Escape from L.A., but whatever. We'll just pretend like that didn't
I don't know. I like going back and watching Escape from L.A. I like it more now than I ever did when it came out because I wanted it to be good, and it's so bad and cheesy where I just love all the crap, like the surfboard scene and all. It's just bad.
Well, this is where-
basketball. You're trying to capture like what they did in this film with the wrestling ring and the really
Yeah.
good like battle.
Well, this is where our age gap comes into play because when it came out for me, I think I was like 12, and I liked Escape from LA initially.
Sweet.
And then going back in like my early 20s and watching it like back to back with Escape from New York, it's
Oh,
like,
God.
oh no.
Yeah.
Because your brain's clouded with all that shit you think is cool when you're a kid and those commercials and all this shit that
Steve Buscemi,
Yeah, I mean,
Pam
it's
Grier.
yeah,
It's a great cast for Escape from L.A.
But
Bruce
this one-
Campbell.
This one had
Bruce
this,
Campbell's, yeah.
Yeah, Surgeon General. This one has a lot more. I mean, this has Deborah Hill still working with him. Nick Castle.
Escape from New York, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Castle co-wrote
Dean
that
Cundy.
movie.
It's his crew.
Yeah, he's got his crew, and they made this movie, and it made money.
James Cameron did the visual effects, like I believe he did, like he helped with the when they do the cityscape. Those like real cardboard boxes with like reflective tape, if I remember correctly.
Possibly. I
Yeah.
mean, you could be right. I don't know.
Yeah.
You could be right. You could be right, man. I don't know if you're right, but you could be right.
That sounds right to me. But yeah, I mean, everybody's seen Escape from L.A., so we don't really have to talk about
Has
it.
everyone seen Escape
I
from?
think they have.
You said Escape from L.A. though.
Oh
so
shit!
You're an
Escape
asshole.
from New York. God, it's tired.
God, you guys are as old as me.
Yeah, that's my bad time. Anyways, so we'll go on to the last movie of our list.
Another movie that I like more than The Howling.
Wolfen is a great movie.
That-
Wolfen. Out of the three werewolf movies that came out this year, this is the smarter one of the three.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely is because they're claiming really not to really necessarily be a werewolf movie. In fact, like Roger Ebert gave it a positive review,
Which means
then he stated in his review that it's not a werewolf movie, and that's why he likes it.
I actually found my notes on this one.
Go ahead.
I'll
Hit us,
expound.
Hit us
Okay.
with some of your notes.
Yeah, it's like, what did I write? It's not your basic werewolf movie. Think Jaws with less Jaws.
Jaws with less sharks.
Yeah, well, okay, I've got Edward
Land
James
sharks.
Olmos looking very much like a Latino playing a Native American, and a small group of Native Americans who are terrorizing New York City, marking cars, scaring the underworld of homeless. Are they responsible for the rash of murders all over the city? Who knows? So the New York homicide detective Dewey Wilson, what an awful name for Albert Finney, and try to be a badass cop,
He was not good at being a badass.
is brought in to solve the crimes. He's partnered with the criminal psychologist Rebecca Neff, which, hey, this is your buddy, this is your fucking, anyway, it's like buddy cop movie all of a sudden, whatever. And together they uncover racism, classism, mysticism, and monsters.
Oh man, tagline for this one.
They may or may not end up fucking.
Oh, they fuck.
Oh yeah, they do.
Here's the tagline. They can hear a cloud pass overhead, the rhythm of your blood. They can track you by yesterday's shadows. They can tear the scream from your throat. Wolfen, there is no defense.
That's great.
And
the
Ebert-
corner is played by Gregory Hines before people knew who gave a fuck about Gregory Hines.
I'm surprised they didn't tap dance in this movie.
But Gregory Hines shows up later with a shotgun, trying to like a
Yeah.
fucking sniper rifle.
Yeah, it's
what the fuck?
It's a
I
little
like
bit,
that guy.
It's a little bit over the top, but this is really just like a detective movie
a
with
mystery.
werewolves. And Roger Ebert's thing was, well, it's not really a werewolf movie because they're not necessarily werewolves; they're shapeshifters.
They're not monstrous werewolves. Like
They
the other movies.
they said they're Indians, and part of their culture is they get inhabited by these creatures that they can summon,
The Wolfen.
which is kind of true, yes, but it's still a fucking werewolf movie. Well, anyway you put it,
Yeah.
you can make it smart. It's still a werewolf movie.
This is definitely the one where they just used real wolves. You have American Werewolf in London, which is
Yeah.
like a werebeast, and then you've got the Howling, which is like a biped werewolf, and then this one is just badass looking wolves they
Yeah.
use.
Edward
and they
Al-
can like disappear and transport themselves.
And it was the introduction to that vision that Predator uses.
That's right. You're right.
So the
Their
vision,
POV.
that's like Predator fucking definitely takes from that. It's like, yep, we got to use that shit. Wolfen's never going to get the credit for it. And there's a line in it that I absolutely love from Edward James Olmos. Is I can swim like a fish and fuck like a bunny. Now who just says that
He's a badass.
to a detective?
He's so young in this movie too.
Yeah, it's really weird when
He's
they're
probably
having,
30.
Because he's kind of like the known town pain in the ass anyway. So the detective already has this like weird relationship with him, and he climbs up to the top of this bridge to talk to him. Like, I think you're a murderer. Let me climb up here to where you can just fucking throw me off.
Seems
Let's have a
legit.
conversation. But I don't know. I dig it. I liked it more than the Howling. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. This is one of those. It's like for people like it was pushed more towards people who are like, oh, you're an intelligent horror film fan.
Yeah.
He was 33.
Oh, you looked it up.
He was
Nice.
33 at the time.
James Horner
looked
did an
better
awesome
than
fucking
Ironside.
score for it. Who is it? Jerry Fisher, who did Highlander and Exorcist 3, shot it. So it looks great. It's just one of those movies. If you have not seen The Wolf, and you should definitely check it out.
Well, yeah, it's like I said, it got reviewed by Siskel and Ebert and got fucking.
And this one
actually, Siskel hated it still,
bombed.
but Ebert liked it.
Oh yeah, it does. That's one of my notes. It says like it did not make its fucking budget back.
Nope.
Bummer.
Because they spent a lot of money to make this one. Probably out of all the werewolf movies that year, they might have spent the most.
This is also one of those movies.
It's weird
that I
'cause
had
they
to
don't
make
have a
a note on
transformation.
because there is animal death, but it's the wolves being shot in the wild, and it's Tom Noonan, who most people know from like Monster Squad or Manhunter or whatever. He's Ripper in Last Action Hero, and he's like the zoologist, and he is an expert on wolves, and he's watching these films, and he's just hating, like it's like stirring emotions. He's crying, and I forgot because I left the room, and my girlfriend's like, "What the fuck are you making me watch?" And I was like. I completely forgot about this scene.
Yeah.
It's them being hunted in the wild. So it's like fuck. So it's also one of those like nature versus human and you're rooting for the fucking monsters.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say they didn't actually kill those animals, though.
Of course,
yeah,
not.
they didn't do
No.
that.
It's
And
not
there's
Cannibal Fairhawks.
But man, it looks real because I rewound it and watched it myself, and I was like, oh, you're right.
there's a lot of fun, like weird, like political undertones and shit to it. It gets like
Heavy.
really political for like,
Classism,
a fucking werewolf movie, which is once again probably why critics like it. And it's interesting that I was going to go to that earlier. It's interesting after what you said about critics bashing horror films, that Ebert would like, oh, this one's the one that I'll go with, you know.
Right.
And that one made the least amount of money. I mean,
Yeah.
because you look at American Werewolf in London, $5.8 million to make, $62 million is what it made. The Howling, $1.5 million to make, $17.9 million is what it made. Wolfen, $17 million to make, made $10.6 million.
Right.
Yeah, but
Complete
it's
opposite.
Yeah, but that's got to be a genre that's
wouldn't
sort of
want-
in the middle.
But if I'm a
there.
horror nerd, am I going to listen to fucking
Roger
Ebert?
Ebert, and the
No.
trailer didn't do it any favors either. It looks like an old man movie. Like it looks like a dad movie. When you see the trailer, even the name, like that sounds very like dad or
I watched
TV.
I watched the trailer and it makes me think of The Changeling a bit.
yeah. I mean,
Like
Good
that
point.
type of
Good
movie.
point. That kind of, and it is. It's kind of a highbrow film. I mean,
Yeah.
George C. Scott is, he's in the opera. It's that kind of like cerebral horror
I-
film for the person who wears a tie to the theater.
well, I think we accept
To
that
see the horror movie that I
that
like,
genre is
yes.
more acceptable now than it was back then. I think back then. Look at all this shit that we've talked about.
I was going to say, by the time you get to July, you're tired.
Everything we've talked about is
I'm
like
tired.
everything we've talked about is like fast-paced slasher, all over the fucking place, instant action
Effects.
It's not as focused on story for the
Right.
most part. And then you have a movie like Wolfen in July that comes out that people are like, that looks fucking boring. I just seen all these decapitations and all this crazy shit and the bullshit Howling. That's probably what it was. They saw the Howling.
knew you were gonna
and
go
they were
there.
like, werewolf movies fucking suck. Why would I go see another werewolf movie this
Stop
year?
shaking your head, Corey.
And then-
Corey, our producer in the
and
corner,
then-
going, yeah, probably.
And then by the time American Werewolf in London came around, they're like, you know what? Maybe we'll give this one a chance to redeem it, and that's why it made all that money. So
Fuck you,
really, the Howling fucked over Wolfen.
Or
See, Corey loves The
Or it
Howling.
could have been by then. There was a lot of big movies that came out that year: Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Oh,
Clash
that's
of the
right.
Titans, History of the World Part 1, Cannonball Run. That all came out in June. And you
I'm
gotta
sure
think-
Cannibal Run really fucked that over.
Cannonball Run probably did.
I was going to go see a werewolf movie, but I saw fucking Cannibal Run instead.
I'm just saying,
I'm
like,
going to
there-
go with the summer play.
there was-
It's
Scream
like
would have
the
did
curse
great
of
if
the summer
Dr.
movie.
Doolittle
yeah,
didn't come
I mean,
out.
well, I mean, all right, so
What the fuck are you talking about?
Arthur actually came out that month, and Arthur was a big movie in '81.
Well, we're going to finish this episode.
We're gonna stop
Before
in
we do
July.
that,
Oh, no,
I've
no, I'm
got-
just saying.
I've got to mention
Because
one thing. I got to mention one
After
thing.
the summer slump, I was going to get to that. This fucking lights back up, man.
Yeah.
It does, because there were a lot of movies that came out before this, but the goriest mainstream movie of the year was fucking Raiders of the Lost Ark. If
Because
you think
of the
about
face
the
melting?
fucking face, they didn't cut away. His fucking face melts, and it's perfectly fine. Raiders of the Lost Ark is cool,
As
but
far as
like,
big budget, yeah. I
Hey,
will
hey-
still say the Beyond with the acid scene.
well,
and
no,
the
I'm
Beyond.
just in American theaters. In
yeah,
American
yeah,
theaters,
yeah.
that was the grossest.
It
And
got us PG-13.
Yeah, it was one of those. It definitely was.
I think that's
They're-
what caused it, right?
Fucking
Wasn't that
Spielberg.
the?
We discussed this on the PG-13 episode, and now I just
I'm
can't
almost
remember.
certain it was this movie that Spielberg was like, I need people to be able to see this.
Temple of Doom.
Uh,
I think it was the Temple of Doom, but I
Well,
can't remember.
maybe.
We're actually going to go back and watch our own episode.
Scanners is more violent, though. I thought like that head explosion's way
For a
worse.
low-budget film that
Yeah.
didn't get nearly the release that.
I'm saying more people saw people's faces
Well,
melt,
yeah,
and it was
sure,
they were perfectly
but-
fine.
Oh,
with it.
absolutely. It's like whenever I took my daughter to see Lost World, the Spielberg movie, and I was like, I made a mistake because she went running up the aisle.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is a really dark sequel.
It's all about how you
This is
market
the
it.
Empire Strikes Back of the Jurassic Park movies.
It's always how you market it. That's how Disney always gets by with having adult situations in
Speaking
kids' movies.
Well, speaking of marketing, The Howling was more marketed as a slasher film. If you watch the original
Yeah.
trailers, it doesn't talk about movie. It doesn't talk about werewolves. Besides The Howling, you see it like the title at the end. It's like in this city.
Yeah.
It's like a
Well,
slasher.
even
film.
the cover of it, like I mean, if you look at this movie, which you can't see it unless you're like watching us on YouTube right now, but the movie looks like a slasher. It's got like the Freddy thing going with like the claws going
Yeah.
through whatever, and